Man, humble.
Producing the program is Go Tigers 247 writer and our executive producer, Bryant Dacus. Bryant, hello. Happy New Year.
Hey.
Did you celebrate the New Year?
Oh, did I?
Really?
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
you're still young, so you can.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
You can handle all
I
the-
sat in front of the TV and watched the
Okay.
new Charlie Brown New Year's Eve special, and it was just a great night.
Okay, let's see who stayed out the latest and saw the New Year in the most. Bryant, what time did you were you in by midnight? Were you at home at midnight?
I probably got home around 1:30, maybe.
I'm in trouble, Gabe.
Oh, well, 2:30.
Yeah, I was about to
That's
say, I
what I
bet
got
Gabe
back.
went.
2:30.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I had work the next
Yeah.
morning. Tigers played at 11 on Saturday.
I went to a buddy's house. I Ubered home.
12:55 for me.
Needless to say, my New Year's Day, I was in bed for a while.
12:55. I thought might win it, but 2:30. Look at you.
12:55.
I love it.
12:55.
12:55. Sure did. I was
Out on Bourbon.
in the
You're-
middle of Bourbon Street when the clock struck midnight and the fireworks show. And I don't think all that was fireworks.
Yeah, I would imagine. Not all of it was fireworks. I probably heard a couple of those from my house, too, over in East Memphis. I was safe, though. We're all safe.
Good, and you were responsible. That's all that matters.
Yes. Uber. Uber is fantastic.
Did they have deals
people
for the
that
New
don't know.
Year's?
No, I don't think so.
No surge
I
pricing?
I would say it would be the opposite of deals normally. I actually got
That's true.
I got a good deal getting to my house, though. That was nice. But we're always live from the Family Leisure Studios in Memphis, Tennessee. And the first hour of our show is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis, the one and only Lexus dealership in Memphis. Plenty to get to today. Of course, we're in the new year. National championship is set, and we've seen this game played before this year. It was the SEC championship. Bama, number 1 versus number 3, Georgia. Georgia actually a slight favorite, interestingly enough, by 3 points. Tiger basketball gets a big win versus Wichita State, 82-64. Grizzlies roll. They've won 4 straight, start their new year off tonight versus the Nets in Brooklyn. That should be a really tough one. And also, as far as Tiger football is concerned, there is a new defensive coordinator in town. Our guests are normal. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports talking college football and college basketball. No Evan Barnes today. Instead, we have Michael Cole from the Grizzlies beat for the CA. We'll talk about the Grizzlies versus the Nets. We'll talk about the NBA as a whole. 5 o'clock, top 5 local and national sports predictions for 2022. We want yours also on the at the AutoZone listener line, 901-360-8255. Get in the zone, AutoZone. We also have Monday Night Football preview at 5:30 and 5:45. We get out with Taco Bell Crunch Time. You can also watch us live and message us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. So all in all, probably not the final result wanted for your trip to New Orleans, but I would imagine you had fun nonetheless.
Well, it sure did, and Baylor was just the better team, and I'm not so sure. I don't want to be that guy and make excuse. If Matt had played, Ole Miss would have won by 40. I don't know that.
Right.
We'll never. Nobody will. May have. I doubt it though. Baylor was really good. Champions of the Big 12. They put it on Ole Miss. They put it on Ole Miss in the lines of scrimmage where, Gabe, both of us, I think the sports dictated there, and it was cruel and unusual what their D-line did to the Ole Miss offensive line, even when Matt Corral was in. But when he went down, everybody, just close to sick, thinking, no, please don't let this be the case. And it's not. He's going to be fine. It was just a sprain. And he didn't even have a wrap or anything around it when he came back out. He even insinuated to some about the possibility of maybe trying to tape it. No.
Right, don't do it.
Your college football's over, and he owed Ole Miss nothing. He gave everything he had. Baylor was just that good, and they put it on Ole Miss. I said on our pregame, Gabe, and alluded to it with you guys last Wednesday afternoon when I visited with y'all, that I thought Baylor was either the most physical or the second most physical team that Ole Miss played all year, and I think that proved to be the case.
And I have to give Baylor credit with what they did this year with Dave Aranda. They were just physical. Offensively, they're not very good.
No.
They truly aren't.
Pretty vanilla.
I like Gary Bohannon. I liked him throughout the year. He did not have a good showing in the Sugar Bowl.
But he handed it off well.
Yeah,
and that's
40,
what they asked him to
40
do.
yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, and he didn't have much pressure on him the whole night. Ole Miss didn't really get all that much pressure with their D-line and that type of thing. Luke Altmaier, though, didn't have much of a chance, though, with how the O-line was blocking up front. There was just substantial losses up there, 6 sacks.
He tried hard, though.
You're not going to be able to win a game that
Luke
way.
Altmaier got thrown into the deepest of deep waters,
Right.
and after the Miles battle interception, I'm thinking, if Ole Miss can get this thing tied, maybe steal it 17-14 or something like that, 21-14, 24-21, something like that. Luke Altmaier would be a legend, the backup quarterback to Matt Corral to come in and win a Sugar Bowl, but he didn't, and he got the real baptism, and Baylor, no pun intended, with the Baylor Bears. But the Baylor fans were great to be around. Gabe, you think about the calendar year 2021 for Baylor. Win it all in the spring in basketball with Scott Drew. Always good in women's. And they lost their coach to LSU, but they're always good in that sport.
Right.
And then, beat Texas, win the Big 12, win the Big 12 championship game, and on New Year's Day win the Sugar Bowl over the mighty SEC. That's a great sports year. I like to say about places, and I think in football, for our local teams, a lot of people have their act together. Sometimes I use a different word off there, but a lot of teams have their act together. Baylor has its act together. They should be commended.
Yes, there's no question about it. Now, after the game, we figured out Matt Corral X-rays are negative, so that's a good thing. It's just sort of an ankle injury. I hope through his NFL draft process he tries to chill for the first part of it, because I know a lot of guys try to push it and try to prove things. He doesn't
get
have
good
much.
and well.
And here's the thing, Brett. He doesn't have all that much to prove right this second.
No, I like the
does.
potential draft spots. There's a couple out there show him going to New Orleans, which would be such a natural fit. Now, it's still gigantic shoes to fill post Drew Brees there, but another Ole Miss quarterback did it a long time ago and is a living legend in that city.
Right.
I mean, if you think Archie Manning is a small G god in Oxford, he's that in New Orleans.
Yep.
Last Monday night at that Monday night football game, now, nothing touches the number of number 9 Drew Brees jerseys. There's a lot of number 26 for Deuce McAllister. But still, at the game last Monday night against Miami, the number 8s that are there still to this, 40 years after Archie played his last game for the Saints, still a lot of number 8 jerseys. But also the Steelers, and we'll talk a lot about the Steelers with Monday Night Football tonight. And this is the farewell for Ben, isn't it? Big
Yeah,
game.
it's got to be.
It's got to be.
It seems like it has to be. And based on what he said,
That would
I
be
don't
big
think-
shoes to fill too, wouldn't it?
It would be ridiculous if he has said what he said to the media about this possibly being his last game and he comes back for another year. Now, granted, I don't know if the Steelers have much of a chance. What are they going to do come next year with sort of a win now mentality with what they have on defense and some of the pieces. They have good wide receivers. Chase Claypool's a good
Got a good
player.
tailback.
Yes, Najee Harris, of course. Their O-line stinks, but they have the requisite pieces to win now. I just wonder what they do.
Can you fix an O-line with free agency?
Yes, you can. You can. You go get some vets that know how to play.
Maybe
That
get
are
lucky
just
with a
steady.
second or third rounder, get a 1 or 2 vets and plug and play.
Yes, you try to get steady guys, and what they've done in in Pittsburgh, they have not really done. They've tried to draft and they've tried to develop, and I don't know if they've developed all that well.
I think the Steelers need everything.
Everything?
I think they need. We're doing it at 5:30. We're going to do their best top 4 defensive players for right now, because we've done the Steelers historically enough this year. So we're going to go top 4 right now. I had trouble finding a 4th.
Well, that's true. And here's
he's,
the thing.
and he's 43 years old. I kid. Joe Hayden's not that old. But
One of the bigger issues is Stephon Tuitt getting injured this year and never being able to play. That was one of their guys. Their D-line, their front 7 was what they relied on, and that injury early in the season really hurt them. And T.J. Watt's been fantastic, and Cam Hayward's been fantastic, although he's been in the league for about, 10-plus years at this point at Ohio State. You just need a little bit more. You need the injuries not to happen, and they have been sort of hurt by injuries. Also,
do I have my math right? 4 teams in the AFC for 2 spots. Is that what we're down to?
I think we have 5. If I'm not mistaken, I think 5 spots are already taken. So I think it's 4 for 2. I believe so.
Yeah.
I think that's correct.
And we know next Sunday night the defeated team in Chargers versus Raiders will probably be out.
Well, no, it's actually technically 5 teams for 2 spots in the AFC.
There you go, Baltimore.
Colts, Chargers, Raiders, Ravens, and Steelers.
That's it.
My gosh. The AFC is, I mean, ridiculous.
Spoiler alert, Steelers out after tonight.
Really? So we know what your pick is?
Yeah.
Also, with the Ole Miss thing, something I didn't get to because we sort of had a sidebar there. Dontario Drummond declares for the NFL draft. That's going to be a substantial loss.
Yeah, Drummond's gone. Ely's gone, waiting for a final decision.
John Rice Plumlee.
Snoop Conner, John Rice Plumlee's going to go to UCF, where I think Gus has promised him some run at quarterback.
Really?
We'll see.
Really?
Hope it works out.
He's off to he already committed to UCF.
I don't know if he's committed,
okay.
but that
seems like
that
the
was
direction.
that was the lobby rumor.
Yeah, that seems like
the lobby's never. You learn all the information in the lobby, don't you?
I mean, it would make sense.
It
would make sense. That's a decent
fantastic
fit.
young guy.
So my question to you for Ole Miss going into next season: Are we looking at a transfer portal quarterback? Are we looking at somebody that's still on the roster right now? Looking at Luke Altmaier.
I think you're going to have a heck of a battle in the spring and probably push it to about the 20th of August before a starter's named, and they want a transfer quarterback to really push.
Okay. And there's not much left in the transfer portal.
I thought
Dylan Gabriel was one of those guys that could end up at Ole Miss. He ends up at UCLA. The other guy that I had heard was Cam Ward from Incarnate Word. He still hasn't committed anywhere.
Bo Nix would have been a big get.
Yeah. Do you think that would make a whole lot of? Do you think that would have been good, a good fit, a good match, Lane and Bo Nix?
I think it could have been, but I think for Bo Nix, go get a good fresh start. I mean, right. he's been in the Auburn world his entire life, and born to be an Auburn Tiger. He gave it his all, and fresh start for him too.
Mm-hmm. Also, locally, Arkansas finishes off a heck of a season.
It sure did.
Win 24-10 over Penn State. Penn State could have backed out of this game with all the COVID that they had going on in their roster. They win the Outback Bowl. Arkansas does. Ran for 353 yards, 6.1 yards per carry. KJ Jefferson was fantastic.
Get you some.
Didn't really throw the ball that well. 20 rushes, 110 yards and a TD.
Malik Hornsby, the backup, had some great plays.
The biggest thing, though, Brett, 9-4 for Arkansas.
Extraordinary.
Just coming off that Chad Morris era, to see a 9-4 Arkansas team, I didn't think we'd be there this quick.
Who did? On the day Sam Pittman was hired, they said, all right, here's the deal, Razorback fans, college football fans. After his second year, they will be playing James Franklin and Penn State in the Outback Bowl and defeat them.
Right. And also, I don't think, just looking at that hire, people were trashing that hire when it happened.
Sure did.
That was not it was not well received. And I don't know how the fan base reacted to it. I would imagine that just getting rid of Chad Morris was mostly enough for that fan base. But I just remember all of the talk around, never called plays. He's an O-line coach. He's a good O-line coach, but that's it. Okay, look at what he's done in 2 years. 3-7 last year, turned that into 9-4 and an Outback Bowl win. It's just
what's one of the great fan bases ever that was just so starved. And now, but if you looked at their schedule for next year, I don't want to start a whole lot of 2022 schedule talk yet. But here's their 4 non-conference next year. Cincinnati and Liberty at home.
Look,
at BYU and one other home game against Bobby Petrino. If Bobby Petrino would ride on the field on a Honda 50, how great would that be? On a Honda 50 motorcycle?
That would be, I'd give him a little bit of credit for making fun of himself. If he
With a big crash helmet on?
I don't see that happening. But they always have the worst schedule in the country, it feels like. Every single year.
They do. I think that was Jeff Long's final up years to Arkansas is to leave them with a road trip to BYU.
It's just unbelievable. But
it is.
Were they the number one? I'm going to look that up.
They've been the number one toughest schedule 2 years in a row now.
2 years in a row. Probably
it would be three.
Three looking at
because they get Cincinnati based off of everything from this year. Went 0-0 on opening day.
We'll see what Cincinnati is next year. We'll see. Without Desmond Ritter in the fold, without some of their defensive guys.
Gabe, it's no longer next year. It's this year. We're into 2022.
Yeah, that is true.
And I'm sure by now you've probably heard of FanDuel Sportsbook. They're making every moment more fun this year. First off, FanDuel Sportsbook's an official sports betting partner with the NFL. That means you can place all your bets on a trustworthy app that's also easy to use. Basketball fans celebrate the NBA 75th anniversary season on FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can place their first bet risk-free, and if you don't win, you'll get up to $1,000 back. Fast withdrawals. When you win, FanDuel, they pay you in as little as 2 hours. Live betting, easy to place your bet fast during a game if you see a trend developing that you like. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up using promo code CASH to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000 and make every moment more this NBA season. That's promo code CASH. Must be 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 10 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. As Gabe said to start the show, we are so proud to have Lexus of Memphis, sponsor of this hour. So proud to have them for another year. Thank you so much to those great people at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all the 2022 models and always special leasing options. Driving luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2022 flagship LS 500, and you'll be driving in some style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Top story of the day. National championship is set, and it's the SEC championship. Bama, #1 versus Georgia, #3. Georgia, 3-point favorites after what happened in the SEC championship. That's interesting to me. I guess Vegas thinks they'll learn from it. We shall see. But when you talk about the semifinal games, I thought Cincy put up a better fight than Michigan, and I thought they showed that they deserve a chance to get beat too. Lost 27-6 to Bama. Okay, I didn't really think they had all that much of a chance versus Bama. I thought they had a chance to cover, but in the trenches they just got whooped. Brian Robinson ran for 204 yards on 26 carries. Couldn't really bow up in the trenches, could Cincinnati. They held up in the secondary. I thought they did a good job.
They deserve to be there.
Picked off Bryce Young. But the overarching sort of narrative I want to get put home here, they deserve to be there.
Sure.
They deserve to get beat just like
it.
anybody else that would have gotten beat by Bama in that same situation. And honestly, it wasn't that big of a whooping. You knew Cincinnati couldn't score. But the game plan Bama had to defeat them was a good one, and you expected Nick Saban to put that together. Also, Michigan losing 34-11 after I talked them up all last week. They have this Joe Moore Award O-line. They have one of the best 1-2 pass rushers in Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo in the country. Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo they didn't even get within 3 feet of Stetson Bennett the entire
night. Aiden Hutchinson had as many penalties as he did tackles for loss, one each.
I was sort of amazed at the fact that Michigan, once they got into the second half, there wasn't much there. They just weren't playing with a lot of vigor. They weren't comfortable.
How would you like to be the guy that voted Aiden Hutchinson to win the Heisman?
And here's the other thing. You talk about that Cincinnati-Alabama game. Will Anderson Jr. showed that he's a better player this year than Aiden Hutchinson. And shout out to one of my favorite O-linemen in the country, though, Jamari Sawyer. He just whooped Aiden Hutchinson all night. He took that very personal and made it very clear his thoughts on Aiden Hutchinson as a player. But Cade McNamara for Michigan was overwhelmed. Michigan run game that we heard about all year. Joe Moore Award O-line, Blake Corum, Hassan Haskins. 27 rushes, 84 yards. So
when's Michigan back in the college football playoff?
I have no idea. But this year, after all that happened, finally getting over that Ohio State hump, won 2 games where they were underdogs when the previous 11 they had lost. I figured that they had a chance this year. They were big frauds. Ohio
State, as it all played out, I think Ohio State had the 3rd best roster in college football this year.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair.
Behind Bama, Georgia. My top story, old boss meet the new boss. The new year begins where everyone thought it would. Bama versus Georgia. What are those two supposed to do? I hear some saying, yes, it's stale. It's the same old. It's a rerun. It's like summertime reruns. Are they supposed to get worse? They're not. But you could have a 29-team playoff, and I think it would boil down to these two in a final somehow, some way. And neither Cincinnati or Michigan had a chance. but neither did the other 126 teams in college football. You could have put some compilation of all-star teams against Georgia and Alabama, and they were going to find a way to win. Those are the best teams, and in that week from tonight, in that matchup, Gabe, but you know I love this. We'll talk about it Wednesday with Barrett Jones. You know, Joe Pendry's kind of pinch hitting for because of COVID for Doug Marrone.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have Matt Luke, who is a great guy and a great offensive line coach.
Very good.
Matt Luke versus Joe Pendry next Monday night in offensive line. That's a good matchup.
Not top story of the day.
I have always liked Matt Luke as an offensive line coach. As a head coach, didn't quite work out. We understand that, and he also took over at a tough time at Ole Miss.
Suicide mission.
But as an O-line coach, he really is one of the best in the country. And I thought when Sam Pittman was an O-line coach, I mean, pick one or the other.
Yeah.
Those are the guys. My not top story of the day has to do with injuries in bowl games. Matt Corral and then also Tyler Linderbaum for Iowa. Tyler Linderbaum actually got hurt and then came back in the game. Came back in the game in the Citrus Bowl. I thought that was a little.
What do you think his parents were thinking?
I thought that was
stands.
a little wild, considering he will be a first-round pick, one of the best O-linemen in the country. He's the center for Iowa. And Matt Corral, by all accounts, you're saying he was thinking about possibly coming back in with his ankle injury. Now, I want to caution people with all of this. I told you so. There's so much I told you so on this topic around the country. And yes, I agree to a certain extent. If a guy gets hurt in a game, it sort of proves maybe it would have been better to sit out.
Well, it's never worth it if that happens.
But I also want to let people know, let the guys make the decision for themselves. Stop telling people what's in their best interest at all times.
Right, because they're grown.
They're grown. They can make those decisions. We talk about them all the time, having more power, being more empowered. Let them make the decisions for themselves. Do you have to agree with every decision? No, you don't. But on either side, we need to stop this sort of back and forth of should he play the bowl game, should he not? You understand why he?
Amen, Gabe. And it gets so moralistic too, that preachified from people.
You need to understand why he's opting out, and it's proven, right? If Matt Corral getting hurt in the bowl game is probably not the best thing that could have happened. I don't think in the grand scheme of things, though, it's going to hurt his draft stock. There's been a lot of talk about that. Chris Mortensen reporting that he's talked to about 4 or 5 different GMs, and they said they don't see it playing any type of factor. It's an ankle sprain is what they see it as right now. But both sides, stop being so preachy. Just understand and respect the decisions that are being made by these athletes.
My not top story. Here comes the Tigers. Here comes the Memphis basketball Tigers. Here comes Penny Hardaway's team. They're getting ready to rip off 13 out of 15, 11 in a row, 12 in a row, something like that. Get ready for it. I saw a spark last Wednesday night in that disaster on Tulane's campus. I was at that game, and it was disastrous to watch that unfold. Hard to believe. I don't care who the Tigers didn't have. 5 people with Memphis jerseys on should beat 5 with Tulane's on. But they didn't. But in that game, I saw a spark. And now 2 of the last 3 games, the Alabama win, Wichita State win, it's what we all thought in the preseason. Here come the Tigers. They will get hot, but has the damage been done? Will that strong finish be enough for the at-large bid if they don't win at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth? They could do that. It could be that kind of torrid stretch the rest of the way. I'm calling it. At worst, 14-4 in AAC or 15-3.
I would assume that's going to be part of your predictions when we get to 5. I don't want
to
have too many spoiler alerts.
Frank Haith, you get the big payback tomorrow night, old pal.
Yep. That'll do it for our top and our not top story of the day. When we come back, I want to stick to Brett's theme there. Got to talk some Tiger basketball. Get the big win over Wichita State, 82-64 on the road. They improved to 7-5, and now they have a big stretch of conference schedule ahead of them. We'll talk about that when we come back on Sports 56 98.5.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world at sports56whbq.com or on the Sports 56 app.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home at Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Oh, won't you stick with me, baby? I'm going to make a lot of bread. I mean both money and actual bread. But right now I need dough, 'cause my delivery truck's dead. And by dough I mean money. Trucks don't run on bread.
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but with personalized discounts that save you money, Progressive Commercial keeps you humming along. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I need more dough. Need with an N. I need more dough. Need with a K.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
The Christmas sale is happening now at Family Leisure. Did you know that's where Santa goes to shop? Oh, yes. Why? Because arcades are up to 25% off. Air hockey and foosball tables, they start at just $149.99. You can get great deals on hot tubs and saunas. Let me tell you, that is perfect for the winter weather. Trampolines, up to 20% off. This is the best time to buy. Pool tables and shuffleboard tables in stock and ready for delivery. They're not waiting on a boat somewhere. Speaking of delivery, those schedules are filling up very, very fast. So reserve your date now, just in time for Christmas. It's the Family Leisure Christmas Sale. It's happening now. Remember, shop early, shop local, and shop where Santa shops. It's Family Leisure, Whitten Road and I-40. It's where family and fun come together for the holidays.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Back rolling on Sports Time with Gabe and Stats. Brian Davis, of course, producing the program. If you want to join the show, questions, comments, concerns, go to the AutoZone listener line, 901-360-8255. Getting the Zone AutoZone. You can also message us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. You can also watch us live at those places. Over the weekend, Tigers on New Year's Day get a big win, a much-needed win over Wichita State. They improved to 7-5. They went 82-64. Josh Minot led the way with 15 points. Jalen Duren and DeAndre Williams in their return to the lineup score 14 apiece.
Gabe, that game wasn't that close.
And they really ran away with it. And the second half is when they really took off. They had a 20-2 run at one point there in the second half, and they took off. And
did you hear how quiet that crowd felt?
Yeah.
And that's at one of the louder places in college basketball. That's their thing.
Mm-hmm. And by all accounts, I mean, you look at what Wichita State has done this year. They hadn't really played much. They're still 9-4. They still did relatively well in their non-conference schedule, although I don't think they're as good as they've been in the past, especially when Greg Marshall was there. But the biggest difference from the Tulane game to the Wichita State game, Brett, it was just so obvious looking at the guys' faces. The energy was there. They had fun. They were locked in. They were ready to go.
And a big infusion with Duren and Williams.
Of course. But that's a problem is against Tulane, when those guys are out, you can't have lulls. You're not allowed to. I mean, if you're going to be without some of your best scorers, some of your best players, you have to have energy. And that was the issue I saw.
Yeah, too many lapses against Tulane, especially on the defensive end. And you could argue the merit. Now, most of that Tulane game, the referees just swallowed the whistle, and they did late in the game with a lot of contact made. I'm not making excuses. It shouldn't be that perilous against Tulane anywhere, there or anywhere else. But then Tulane follows it up with a pretty good win over the weekend.
Right.
So maybe they sorted some things out during their long COVID break. And the Tigers now 2 out of 3 times the last 3 games, 2 wins, Bama at Wichita State. This is the tip of the iceberg. This is what a lot of people thought. I picked them in the preseason to go to the Final Four with Purdue, Gonzaga, and UCLA. My other 3 teams are ranked 3, 4, and 5 today by AP. Who in the heck voted for Georgia? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Please, somebody tell me it was a mismarked
I
ballot.
heard it was a mistake. I heard the person meant to put Gonzaga at number
cool.
1, and so it shot him.
I make
shot
mistakes.
Georgia all the way up to 30.
Okay, good. That makes me
mistake.
feel better. That makes me feel better. And it happens. Check your ballot a little closer next time. I mean, I thought I voted for Joe Biden, and I really voted for Donald Trump.
But the Tigers, you just look at what they did against Wichita State. That's what you have to see going forward defensively. You have to get that done.
It's got to be locked in. It's got to be that intense. And if it is, look out. The Penny Hardaway years have been marked by a consistency of defensive intensity. It waned in too many lapses against Tulane and against Murray State. I think that's the 2 ugliest losses of the year.
Yeah, I would say so. Georgia, I mean, I don't know how it looks now, but still not a great
number 30.
loss.
Yeah, lost to number 30. That's right, Brian.
But we've seen in the Penny Hardaway era, they can turn the ball over. They can look bad offensively in the half court and still win ball games with defense. And I think
make up for it on the
I
other
think even they didn't have an overly great night on the offensive end. They did shoot 50% from the field, but 3-pointers were not falling for them. They were under 30% there. But they held Wichita State to 29% from the field and 21% from 3. And that's the difference in the game, in my opinion.
Now, I no longer feel that this is a Final Four team from preseason. I'm going to change from that. When we do predictions, I'm not saying when I left New Orleans, I don't have any hope of going back for Tiger Final Four. But to see it is not as grim as it was 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Right. But it's about pulling. Here's why I'm not there yet, Brett, is it's about pulling the right strings at the right time and having the right guys on the floor, which we've seen with Penny Hardaway. It's not always going to be that way. And it's about being consistent. And even the older guys on this team, Landers Nolly, Lester Quinones, Malcolm Dandridge, some of those guys, DeAndre Williams, of course, and he's been probably the most consistent. Even with some of those guys, you don't see the same effort and consistency night to night. That's why I'm not
would you tip your toe into these waters with tomorrow night against Tulsa? I don't know a margin, but we'll know it when we see it that it was comfortable, it was easy, it was the way it was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Then next Sunday afternoon against Cincinnati, and then the 2 roadies, January 12, January 15, at UCF, pretty good squad. Mm-hmm. At East Carolina, same thing. Mm-hmm. If they went out and took care of business in those 2 behind 2 home wins to make it 5 straight with the Wichita State win,
I'd feel better.
You're going to tiptoe in there, okay?
Tiptoe, but here's the thing:
when do you do a swan dive? When do you do the big belly buster
against the team like East? Well, if they go on the road against UCF and East Carolina and both have good margins and win the ball game, and play good defense and sort of show a little bit of consistency from what they showed against Wichita State this weekend, then I'll be in. But it's just I have been predisposed to believe that at some point they're going to have some lulls, and still the COVID scare is still there with Omicron going around.
That's
I know
true.
some of these guys have tested positive, and they've already had it, but that doesn't mean they can't get it again. And it has been proven. There is 6 unvaccinated players on the team, and even the 11 vaccinated players can possibly test positive, given the close proximity. So there's too many unknowns behind the scenes right this second. And what's up with Amani Bates' finger injury? When will he be back? But
And where is he?
Where does he
mentally and emotionally after this roller coaster he's been on?
Where does he fit back into the rotation? Right. You look at
their
best
point guard.
Yeah. You look at their best win of the year. He was off the floor for the final 14 minutes against Alabama.
Good point.
Didn't play a single minute against Wichita State, which I would argue. I mean, as far as wins go and margin of victory on the road to win like that, that might be their second best win. Even though it's not a top 25 opponent and it's not an opponent.
I'm not so sure Wichita State wasn't a better win because it is conference. Now, Alabama kind of breathed life back into the diehards that were at FedEx Forum bringing it that night. Talking about fan bases that are starved. This Tiger basketball fan base, it was a great crowd of Tiger fans in New Orleans. I'm going to say 1,200 in the building, 800 Memphis, easy, 700 low side.
I'm with you, Brett. I'm with you. But the one thing that did scare me about that Tulane loss and then the fan base reaction is apathy. That's the one thing. You get a lot of people like at this point, you know what they are. They're inconsistent to say.
Has COVID contributed to sports fan checking out a little bit? Because I mean it's hard to go now. You got to have a vax card, and you might have to be masked up in some general areas, and the whole it may not be worth it to go to it at Tulane. How about this? At Tulane, you had to show not only your vax card, which I had my real card with me, had to show front and back. Have you even looked at the back of your vax card?
No, have not.
Well, I can tell you what the back of it looks like. It looks like the back of mine and the back of Bryant's.
I don't have my wallet on me.
Everybody's back it's universally the same. So at Tulane, my friend I went to the game with, he only had his front of his vax card on his phone. Realizes that we hear the nice lady telling everybody, you have to show the front and the back. You have to show the front and back. He goes, I don't have the back. I said, we can fix this. We went around the corner of the building. I snapped a picture of he snapped a picture of the back of my card on his. So he showed his front. 212 pictures later, he scrolled to the back.
What?
And she said, come on in. I'm not kidding you. I could have taken a picture of the back of a Powerball ticket, and she would have let us in.
If it doesn't have the back, I mean, does that mean it's like what does that mean about the card itself?
Gabe, more theater. It was more theater. I could have taken a picture of a back of a tarot card reader in the French Quarter and had it on my phone and flashed it and come on in. It's more theater. It's more cosmetics.
I haven't even looked at the back of my vaccine. Do you keep yours in your wallet, by the way?
I have hard copy in wallet, front and legitimate back on my phone.
Yeah, I have
I have sent it to family members in case they need to prove my veracity.
I think
Probably
I put it in my wallet, Brett, and I think I made a mistake there. It's gotten all crumbled up and doesn't look as good as it was. It
doesn't have a lot of staying power. And Saturday night at the Dome, we're doing pregame, and a nice man came up and had found somebody's card on the floor and asked if we could make an announcement. Hey, everybody check and see if you've lost your card, because we're pulling them out and showing them everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So back to the Tigers real quick. Josh Minot, 15.6 rebounds. There's a lot of people who've been calling for him to play all year, and I've found it a little bit funny because sometimes when he gets out there, he looks a little bit lost. But he does bring an energy. He does bring a certain energy to the court and athleticism, some length that throws a different look at teams. Now, on the defensive end of the floor, he does make me nervous sometimes. He looks lost. He looks uncomfortable, and that's where I think Penny and the staff sort of see in practice how he looks. And they decide maybe he doesn't get all the minutes when we're at full strength.
Yeah, but he brings so much good that you could yield some defensive momentary lapses, but not gaping lapses. I mean, you can't have him out there in a 10-minute stretch if he's not bringing it on defense.
Right, and now the big tough conversation that comes up every single time we talk Tigers. Alex Lomax didn't play, was out. And it looks like he'll be out for a stretch of games here, especially after this Wichita State. We'll see how long he's out. But the Tigers, is the sample size big enough, Brett? I think it's more than big enough to say that the Tigers are better with Alex Lomax off the floor.
Yeah, you can. And I take no glee in it. I'm not here to crush you. You're not either, obviously. We're not here to crush it. The evidence is in.
The NIT run. This game,
the evidence is in.
It's there, and that is not. I'm
it doesn't
not
mean you don't use him some. It doesn't mean you don't appreciate him, and it sure doesn't mean that he deserves to be slandered.
But Brett, you don't trust him with 6 seconds on the clock going down to go make an offensive opportunity at the end of the Tulane game.
Even if he did possibly get fouled, no, you don't.
Right, you don't do that. So going forward,
my reaction was that was the play.
Going forward, I take no. It's not. I told you so moment. It's none of that. But through the NIT run in this game in particular, you see what happens. And does that mean that Alex Lomax never has good minutes? No, but he's better off the bench in a reserve point guard role 10 to 12 minutes a game. At most.
And
unless he's needed for more.
We want the Texas interaction. I know who the Tigers have lost to this year. I know they lost to a bad Georgia team at Georgia. I know they lost to a bad Ole Miss team at Ole Miss, and I know they lost to a bad Tulane team. I know all that. I know they lost at home to Murray State. We all know all that. I'm talking about the relaunch to a year. I saw signs of it, and on our Tiger bankroll Saturday, my biggest wager of the year on the Tigers, wasn't it?
You were ready for it. I took the opposite side though.
Yeah,
I'm losing now at this point, aren't I?
Yeah, you're down real cash, and you don't want to see who we send collecting for it. We send John Harden and his boys to collect.
Who are his boys? I'm one of his boys.
That's what you don't want to know.
You're one of his. Well, you're one of them, but you're not
Brett.
one of the boys.
Okay.
You know his
goons.
Yeah, the goons. You're not a goon status yet.
I jumped out there Saturday with 150 on the Tigers to take me to a lusty 1,200 for the year. We started with 1,000 in the bankroll.
Yeah.
You're at 700, so you're really down 3 bones, Gabe. Bryant got a little bit healthier.
Woo!
He's at 650 for the year. So I got a working margin with you guys.
At 700, that's what 6 straight losses does to you.
Yeah.
Starting with the Iowa State game, I've lost every single game since then.
And we missed.
And
Iowa
we briefly
State looks good, but
we
that
missed
does.
the Tulane game. We briefly,
we
because
did.
of all of the movement around the holidays.
I would have taken the Tigers. You want to penalize me? Do so.
But but that's part of it. Is even just watching and looking at some of my picks, I just don't see the consistency with this team.
I can tell you,
and I think
do we have
hopefully
a line yet for tomorrow?
Hopefully, this Wichita State win brings that out of them, though. Shows them what success looks like. Because and also on offense, the differences between the Tulane and Wichita State game were very obvious. In the Tulane game, I talked to Brian about this. Brian, we talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
They were passing the ball in that Tulane game, Brett, with no. It wasn't setting people up for anything. They were just moving the ball to move the ball.
Like they were running a drill.
It didn't. Whereas Tulane, when they were passing the ball, they were trying to set up each other.
They were
Whereas
sharp.
the Tigers weren't. And in the Wichita State game, though, the Tigers got back to that.
Did you catch it on TV how Ron Hunter just coached his guts out? He wanted that game.
Yeah,
and one time, I'm telling you, the ref, and I was down there low enough, and I heard the ref go, "Coach, you really weren't supposed to be standing there." He was standing on the end line and not facing the bucket, but kind of facing back toward the kind of north and south toward, and he flashed over to the end line. The Tiger player thought it was a Tiger player and threw it out of bounds. Do you remember that play?
I do remember that play.
And the referee said, "Coach, you really weren't supposed to be standing there." I'm thinking, well, then team, he was out of the coaching box.
Yep. At the end of that game, though, his play, I don't know what he was doing as far as the coaching was concerned. His players tried to give that game up, Brett.
They sure did.
My gosh.
They got tied.
The turnover, 85-82 turnover, foul a jump shooter 2 times in a row, have a shot clock violation on your last
little point guard
offensive
played great.
possession.
They put it in his hands, and he kind of sealed it with 25.
Yeah,
played well.
But at the end of the game, I thought the Tigers had a chance to go win that one, and they didn't quite get it done. It looked like Tulane's players were trying to give that up. Now we go from this basketball team to another basketball team locally, and the Grizzlies, who have won 4 straight, are playing ridiculously well. They're playing a good brand of basketball. They're in the 4th spot in the Western Conference. They're coming off a win against the Spurs, 118-105, and tonight they visit Brooklyn and they play the red-hot top of the Eastern Conference Nets.
Kyrie back Wednesday, not tonight.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing. We'll talk about that when we come back. We'll also get to your text right here on Sports 56 98.5.
You have opinions?
Well, you gotta have an opinion.
We want to hear them. Call or text us on the AutoZone listener line at 360-8255. That's the AutoZone listener line at 901-360-8255.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
It's a brand new year.
And yet still here you are.
And now I'm not saying that you should make New Year's resolutions.
But if you did, they should all have something to do with Central Barbecue, right?
You think I'm so predictable?
That's because you are.
I could have been about to say anything.
As long as anything by me telling people to go to Central Barbecue.
Well, yeah.
See, predictable. Still, we do love us some Central Barbecue.
Exactly. So people should resolve to spend plenty of time at one of the 4 locations of Central Barbecue this year.
You know what? You're right.
And you said I was predictable.
I knew you were going to say that.
Hey, you're not Pete.
General contractor, subcontractor, Zipcat can help you find workers for the jobs you're needing done. Contractors, just post your jobs on Zipcat for the price you want them done for. Subcontractors will find the jobs listed on Zipcat and offer to buy them. You both have 3 days to accept and approve the subcontracting job you bought. For the best tool in your toolbox, download the Zipcat app. Roofers, concrete, plumbers, HVAC, painters, download it free. Zipcat, Z-I-P-C-A-T. Z-I-P-C-A-T. That's Zipcat.
Did you know that over 90% of male enhancement pills are virtually the same thing that's repackaged, redone over and over again? Why settle for the same old product when you can get something completely different? Something that takes male enhancement into the 21st century. Something that really works. Men, you need to try Noxitrol, the explosive, all-natural male enhancement formula that will unlock your performance in the bedroom to a level you could only dream of. Try to imagine that little blue pill on steroids. Noxitrol is so powerful. That's why it took years for it to finally become available to the public without a prescription. So call now and take advantage of our special Noxitrol free bottle offer today. Oh yeah, we recommend that you use the Noxitrol dose as directed. Think of your partner. We certainly don't want you to overperform in the bedroom.
Call now and find out how to get a free bottle of Noxitrol while supplies last. Call 1-800-231-8913. That's 800-231-8913. Free bottle for limited time. Call now. 800-231-8913. 800-231-8913.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
I'm Brian Elder, 867-0303. Hurricane season is upon us. Is your roof ready? Are your shingles laying down and sealed properly? Call me right now, 867-0303. They say you get what you pay for. That's why my opinion is free. Maybe you've got years of life left in your roof. If so, I'll tell you that. But if I find storm damage or a compromised roof system, I'll lay out some options for you. Don't let them tell you it needs to be replaced if it only needs a repair. Call me, 867-0303. Has your insurance company already seen it and rejected your claim? Maybe they're correct. Most of the time, they're not. They do tend to become more reasonable once I get involved, though. 867-0303. I'll measure your roof from outer space or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
And we welcome you back. Happy New Year to everyone. And a great way to start the new year is at Belly Acres. The motto is City-Fied Farm Fresh. The goal? It's simple. Provide a fun, unique farm-to-table experience for the entire family. 2 great locations and another one coming in the late spring, early summer at Silo Square. Overton Square right now at 2102 Trimble Place and at 6130 Poplar in Regalia. Signature burgers are made from 100% grass-fed beef, sandwiches, salads, and the best milkshakes. Anywhere, the burger's so good, like the Dare You, the Double Dare You, the Voodoo Moo Moo, and the Melt in Your Mouth. All so good. The quality brand the Belly Acres teams developed using grass-fed beef with creative homemade toppings in a fun farm setting right here in the city. The goal at Belly Acres, become even more sustainable as they grow, and indeed they will. Now in Overton Square and in Regalia, and coming late spring, early summer to Silo Square. That's 2022 ahead for you at Belly Acres. The very best quality available in Memphis. Burgers, shakes, and smiles at Belly Acres.
Real quick, got some texts. The AutoZone listener on the line, 901-360-8255 to follow these up. Somebody's talking about the Tulane game, and they said, stats, I had friends at the game, and there weren't 1,000 people there total.
I was at the game, and it might have been 800 to 1,000. But I was in the building last Wednesday night on the campus of Tulane. There were 800 to 1,000 there, and most of it was clad in blue.
Somebody else. I think if the Tigers go 15-3 in the AAC, like Brett speculated, the damage will be 8 losses, which may be too many. It may.
It may.
The Tigers at this point, depending on
I
what
go to
they're
my exact words in the Not Top story, but maybe the damage has been done already.
You know, I wonder, and it depends some of the whatever losses they take in conference. I just wonder what it's going to take to really put themselves on the bubble or put themselves in the tournament without a conference championship. I mean, a tournament win. So right now, with that loss to Tulane, with the loss to Murray State, with the loss to Georgia, you're just in a very, very tough spot. You don't have enough wins that you can put together down the
large talk.
And also
the automatic's still there with
the automatic's
with
still there. That's the one I think they're going to have to get at this.
But
point,
I don't think you have to entirely cling to that. I think you can build some resume with for sure one over Houston and maybe both of them.
If Tulane's your only loss, yes, but I down the stretch of the season, I just don't.
All right, so they have one more. To be fair, who are the 2 losses they can have from my 15-3 at Houston and at SMU?
Yeah. Would Cincy be a fair one? Would Cincy be a fair loss at Cincy?
Don't want it though.
Don't want it. But here's the thing with Houston. The way they are, with Sasser out, with Traymon Mark out. Tigers are by far and away, I don't think it's even remotely close. They're by far and away the most talented team, most talented roster in the AAC. And I think that the possibility for a win against Houston is there. They just got to go season taken. And Penny's going to have to do some coaching because Kelvin Sampson's going to have his team ready regardless of the situation. Another text. I think the best team the Tigers can put on the floor right now would be Minot, Duran, Williams, Timberlake, and Hardaway. Hardaway, I don't know.
Let's go with Team Big from Saturday at Wichita State and see how long that carries you.
I don't know about Hardaway.
I saw him with his moment. Tulane. It was almost his greatest game.
He was fantastic.
Without him, it would have been a real rout.
The issue with Minot is you just have to see him as a freshman keep that going. Keep what he did against Wichita State going because he's just and Brian, I don't know how you feel about it. He just looks uncomfortable sometimes when he's out there.
Well, what
he doesn't know what's expected of him.
He has a real knack for the ball. He's always in the right spot, right place, right time. It's just he's a freshman. I mean, he just hasn't grasped it fully, which is understandable. I mean, he's been there for a couple months, but he just knows where to be and when to be. So I don't know if I'm ready to put him in the starting lineup yet, just because that's a lot to ask out of a true freshman like that. But yeah, no, I think he played really well on Saturday.
He's definitely earned some minutes, but he's got to do something with those minutes and be consistent, and not make bad plays. And that's what you have to monitor.
Can you imagine this mood if you reverse that score and it's an 18-point loss at Wichita?
No.
Let's don't imagine that.
Let's not do
that. And I thought it was a possibility. I mean, I picked Wichita State to win that game. I thought it was a possibility with what we saw coming off that Tulane game.
It was a little bit like Vegas telling us at the Alabama game.
Yeah. Memphis. You just saw that line as Memphis the whole way.
And I saw
I saw
a little spark.
I figured.
Tulane.
I still figured, even coming off that Tulane game, was getting some of their big guys back, that the Tigers would be favored.
Yeah.
And when they weren't, I thought Vegas knew something the other way. I saw that
DeAndre Williams brings
direction.
it with intensity.
It's the DeAndre effect.
Yes, he does.
He's the energy guy.
He can take it a little bit far at times.
I was told by a Tiger basketball insider, and it's not one of their broadcasters,
right?
That there are 2 or 3 of the holdouts on the vax that will never get it.
Yeah.
That you can't make them.
I'll say
you
this:
can't beseech them. You can't beg them.
I have also heard from people. There's families involved in this thing that really do not want their son.
Well, that's everywhere in college
get
basketball now.
It's everywhere in society,
and that's just what it's going to be going forward.
Society speaking,
you can't really control. I mean, in that situation, if I'm Penny Hardaway, you just got to do with what you got to do with. I mean, there are guys that will not under any circumstance.
Which that's another thing that's contrary to popular belief out there in the media. The media has everybody believing only MAGA is not getting the vaccine. No, there's a pretty entrenched group of a lot of different people.
Yeah, and a lot of people that don't necessarily trust the government and what they give to them, and for good reason.
Historically.
The Grizzlies beat the Spurs 118-105 over the weekend. Ja was 12. Get this. Over the last 3 games of 2021, 12 for 15 from 3. If he can recreate that going forward, that's scary. He was the player of the week for that stretch.
Wait till our predictions.
Yeah, I will say that too. I have predictions I want to make. Also, they signed Killian Tilly officially to the regular roster. 2 years, $4 million. Big money, Tilly.
Love it.
You gotta love it. They'll be against the Nets.
When did John
tonight.
Conchar get paid?
It's a great question. He's got to be next.
I don't know.
Is he the all-time story from the Hustle?
What's his contract now? That's my question.
Great question.
See, I'm not sure. I'm just really am not. If you want to hit the listener line, 901-360-8255, we're going to make predictions at 5. I want to get some of your predictions in here so we can read those out and talk about them. But when we come back, it'll be hour number 2. It'll be a busy hour number 2. David Kyle from CBS Sports to Michael Cole from the CA talking Grizzlies at 4:45. We'll break down all of the bowl games that went down over the weekend. You're listening to Sports Time with Gabe and Stats.
Memphis basketball fans, your Tigers play host to Tulsa to start the new year at home January 4th at FedEx Forum. Game time slotted for 8 o'clock. Fans are encouraged to come out to the game wearing gray. That's January 4th at 8 o'clock. For tickets, call 901-678-2331 or visit GoTigersGoTix.com today.
I'm Sheldon Rosengarten with Marks Bensdorf Realtors, and I have to really congratulate Hugh Mallory, who is also with Marks Bensdorf Realtors, for using his hunting skills when it comes to finding homes for his clients.
Thanks, Sheldon. Yes, I get them into their hunting gear by getting them pre-qualified with a local lender. Then we stalk the prey. We go on the hunt into the multiple listing service as well as other internet sites that other hunters, other agents, don't use. And once we find what we're hunting, we make the offer to beat other agents out there in the field.
Hugh, that's all well and good. But what do you do once you get the house?
Well, we can't very well mount it on the wall, but our clients will be living in their dream home while everyone else is still hunting.
Remember, while Hugh Mallory moves Memphis at 497-9756, when you want the job done, call Shell Dunn at MemphisRelocate.com or 483-0546. Do it now. MemphisRelocate.com or 483-0546.
Hi, I'm Flo from Progressive. Being a baseball fanatic like me can be stressful. It's not all sports points and touchdowns. So Progressive is going to help you take your mind off your team for a moment. Instead of thinking about how they missed that goal point score, think about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, letting you choose coverage options based on your budget, unlike your team that missed the end zone net area. Well, anyway, hope this distraction about Progressive's Name Your Price tool was helpful. It sure kept me from thinking about all those penalty balls. Yay, sports!
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
A good friend of mine told me about this awesome place for lunch.
Oh, yeah? What's the name?
Neil's Grill and Bar, where the fat man rocks. Everybody knows Neil.
Where's it located?
It's located in Yorkshire Square off of Quince.
And what's it like?
The best lunch place in Memphis. You know, like real mashed potatoes and gravy. Everything is made from scratch. Monday through Friday, daily lunch specials like Monday baked chicken, Italian Tuesday, spaghetti, ravioli, Italian spinach, delicious fried catfish, fried chicken livers every Wednesday, Friday Salisbury steak, barbecue chicken, or if you just want a vegetable plate, the best veggies in town.
What about the lunch price?
Meat and 2 veggies, $7.95. Meat and 3 veggies, $9.99. And veggie plate, $8.95. Big fat boy portions, man.
Man, you're making me hungry.
Come hear the best live local music at Neil's. Eddie Smith plays Sundays 5 to 9, Mondays karaoke, Tuesdays Debbie Jameson, Wednesdays Elmo and the Shades, Thursdays John Williams and the A440 Band at Neil's.
Where the fat man rocks.
Need to sell your home? You're in luck because I buy houses. All you have to do is call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that PIN, 901-406-1101, or just save it in your phone. Bill at I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses buys houses in any area, in any condition, at any time, as simple as that. I Buy Houses is guaranteed to close in 5 days. So if you need your cash fast, just call Bill at I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. Has your house been on the market? Were you just tired of renters? Or is it just time to start over? Well, avoid repairing, cleaning, painting, and prepping your house. Just pick up the phone and call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses. If you're in Southwind, South Memphis, North Mississippi, North Memphis, Collierville, if you can hear this, just call my friend Bill at I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Back in for hour number 2 of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Gabe and Stats. Stats is back after his long-awaited vacation through the Sugar Bowl. Brian Dickens, of course, producing the program, doing a great job. AutoZone listener line 901-360-8255 if you want to join the show. Also, you can watch us live and message us on all of our socials, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. Without further ado, let's bring on our good friend from CBS Sports, David Cobb, at David W. Cobb on Twitter. David, what's happening, man?
Man, not much, guys. Just enjoying the new year after a really fun weekend of football, a little basketball as well. So it's kind of sad. I mean, in some ways, because that's the last weekend where we'll really have both sports going at once, which is for me always a busy time. But you know what? It just means that we're getting closer to crowning a champion in college football.
David Cobb, Happy New Year. I'm one that's been consistent through the years. Not the barometer, not the standard, but I think you can use the bowl games as a way to track conference supremacy. It's not the only way, but I have said through the years consistently that the bowls do matter. They certainly matter to me. Let me read since 2015 the SEC bowl record, and I'm going to tell you what the national narrative has been. You ready, David? Yeah. 2015, the SEC went 9-2. Bowls don't matter. 2016, SEC went 6-7. Bowls matter. 2017, SEC went 4-5. Bowls matter. 2018, SEC went 6-6. Bowls don't matter that much. 2019, SEC went 8-2. Bowls don't matter. 2020, SEC went 7-2. Bowls don't matter. This year, 5-6. Bowls matter. Have you seen the common denominator there?
That is interesting. I think you're probably onto something. Yeah, you know what? When you beat an SEC team, no matter the stage, no matter the circumstance, it's a big deal for your program, no matter who you are in college football. I mean, unless you're Ohio State matched up against Vanderbilt or Clemson matched up against South Carolina, but even something like that's a rivalry game. So it's, I mean, the SEC is so dominant now that it's always going to be that way.
And UCF was very proud of their win over Florida. I don't blame them.
Right.
After all, that program has won a national championship more recently than Florida has.
But let's be real, guys. The SEC team has never lost a bowl game that they cared about.
Yes, they have.
I don't see it. I
was at one Saturday night.
Well, that was a different one with Matt Corral getting hurt. I understand that one. But a lot of the years, that's the narrative around when the SEC loses a game. Florida for sure against Oklahoma last year in the Cotton Bowl.
No, Gabe, you're right. That is. It does work both ways in some instances, because if the SEC loses a bowl game, it's they didn't care.
I had opt-outs and all that.
This
jazz.
SEC guy cares.
Well, I think ultimately we're going to be in a situation in a few years where there's going to be an expanded playoff, and we're going to get a more legitimate barometer for the way the conferences stack up against each other. Because, of course, this year it's an SEC national title between Alabama and Georgia. But, I think in the future, we'll be able to figure out a little bit more, how deep maybe the SEC really is compared to some of these other leagues. Because if you start out with 12 and then you go to 8, how many of those 8 remaining are from the SEC? Okay, then you go to 4. How many from the SEC have survived, the first 2 rounds of the playoffs? How many of those 4 are from the SEC? I think there's some people out there who are afraid or who are excited about the fact that, hey, maybe all 4 of them will be from the SEC. But I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think this year is a good example of the fact that, behind Alabama and Georgia,
steep decline.
Right.
Yeah, right. And
I voiced that most of the
third-best
fall.
team in the league.
Most of the fall, I said I thought the SEC was wide but not very deep. And it ended up, I think, going into the bowl season, Ole Miss was probably SEC 3, and that was the power and the influence, I think, of Matt Corral. Without him, that was a 7-5 team. It was not it was not that special. I didn't think the league was that special this year. It is manifested in the bowl games with some ugly losses and some ugly performance. I want to applaud Mike Leach at Mississippi State for being here at the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. They didn't play very well, but he easily could have taken the powder that Jimbo Fisher took.
Yeah, he could have. And, but Leach has been pretty clear his feelings on opting out and such. Clearly, I think in his mind, I think there was something personal to that game because it was a chance for him to go up against Texas Tech. And I know in that game, Texas Tech was coached by Sonny Cumbie, who is a former player of Leach's. So it's not like there was animosity directed to the other sideline, but the team that Texas Tech represented, I think, motivated Leach to want to go out there and
he wanted
play
to play
that game, and certainly wanted to play it a lot better than they did. It was not a good performance. And then look at the fact that some of these bowls have been close. I think about that Tennessee game. My goodness, that was probably one of the better bowls there's been this year. Tennessee Purdue. Tennessee absolutely wanted to win that game, and they didn't. So you can't throw that one on the opt-outs or they didn't care. Tennessee cared. They didn't have a lot of opt-outs. That game meant something to the 50,000+ Tennessee fans who were inside that stadium in Nashville. So there's another example of the bowls mattering for SEC teams and it not getting done. And so for Tennessee and Mississippi State both, they can't say it didn't matter or we didn't care.
Yeah, you can't run that stuff. David, I was talking earlier about athletic departments, teams, places that have their act together. Tennessee has its act together, don't they? AD, football coach, basketball coach, women's basketball coach, baseball, administration.
Now, the administration is my next question there because, again, it's a relatively inexperienced.
I trust Randy Boyd.
Randy Boyd, I think, has his act together, but here's my concern. One, I kind of thought they should have taken the bowl ban when, the Music City Bowl is the best you're going to do. Why not just take the bowl ban and kind of get the NCAA out of the way? Look at Auburn basketball right now. It worked perfectly for them. They took a postseason ban last season. They weren't going to the dance anyway. Then they get off scot-free this year when the NCAA does drop its penalty, and now they're in the top 10, and they've got a squad that I think is a dark horse Final Four team. Tennessee, in a couple of years, could be really trending up in football if this high-full trajectory continues, but they're going to have to contend with the NCAA fallout from the Pruitt-era stuff. And if that costs them a postseason chance to play in something of significance that's better than the Music City Bowl, then that will be a blemish on that administration and one that really hampers the momentum of the football program. So that's my question on Tennessee having its act together. I think from the athletic department side, they do, but I wonder if maybe the administration should have been a little bit more firm in suggesting that they self-impose something there. We'll see how it plays out.
And then I look around the SEC, talk about people that have their act together. Watching Arkansas win 24-10 over Penn State was interesting to me. It was fantastic to see where they've come from the Chad Morris era. 9-4 for Sam Pittman. Do they have their act together?
Yeah. What an amazing story. What an amazing turnaround. Sam Pittman in Arkansas has just, blown me away. Just a perfect fit there because the thing I love about Pittman as a fit at Arkansas is that you're not going to have to worry about that guy getting poached by another job. And after all that Arkansas has been through, really over the last, that's an underrated
nightmare.
payoff.
Yep.
From
we
the Bobby
talk about
Petrino motorcycle wreck, certified nightmare. And
We
it
talk a
was
lot
no
about-
motorcycle wreck. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean Tennessee gets a lot of love for being just total chaos. LSU, I think, has sucked some oxygen out of the chaos room. Florida, just there's plenty of chaos to go around.
Ole Miss can come in off the top rope with the chaos, David.
Ole Miss is there. Yes, no shortage. So it's sometimes overlooked, just the insanity that Arkansas has been through. And the fact is, I mean, the peak of the Brett Bielema era was not as good as what Sam Pittman has accomplished in 2 years.
Oh, great point.
So amazing job by him. And even if it doesn't always, even if 9-4 is kind of the ceiling there, I think that fan base is pretty well positioned to appreciate 9-4, at least for a few seasons.
Did you hear how many
after what
times the announcers remarked about how loud the Razorback fans were in Tampa?
Not surprised. I mean, you talk about the bowls they've been in, since going back to the Nut year. I mean, my goodness, it's certainly the most attractive, postseason destination that fan base has had a chance to go and check out for a long, long time.
I opened the show with it. I mean, what he's done in just a few years is ridiculous. Because I remember Chad Morris at SMU. I remember when he got the job at Arkansas, I knew it was headed down the tubes quickly. And Sam Pittman, just a fantastic job so far. Now, as far as the semifinal games are concerned, Michigan, I thought, frauded their way into that game, and it really showed. What do you think about Cincinnati's performance? What do you think about? I know they lost 27-6, never really threatened offensively, but did you think that they stuck in there about as best they could?
No, I thought they laid an egg. I mean, I thought that was a terrible performance by Cincinnati. Honestly, I thought that, and I'm disappointed because for all those people out there who probably didn't watch a single minute of them play this year, or just had their doubts about Cincinnati, they turn on that game, right? And there's, they didn't deserve to be in there. Of course, this was going to happen. And I still stand by the fact that if they played that game 10 times between those two teams, I think Cincinnati does find a way to win one of them. And I think they were too conservative. I think Cincinnati was stuck in playing the way it had played all season, which was, just don't do anything stupid, and we're probably going to win. And that was even applicable against Indiana. And then, Notre Dame, they came up with a little something extra. And they needed a lot of something extra against Alabama, but they were too conservative. Look, Alabama didn't have two of its top corners for most of that game. Jalen Armour-Davis tried to play, and he couldn't. Josh Jobe was out. So they were playing some pretty inexperienced guys in that Alabama secondary. And that's a secondary that's been vulnerable all year. And I know, Will Anderson makes it really tough to let routes develop because he's coming after your quarterback. And, that guy's not going to have time to sit back there and let a route, develop all the time. But they could have taken more shots than they did because that's the weak point in Alabama is their secondary. And that was especially true because of those corners they were missing. So I thought Cincinnati was too conservative. I thought they kicked field goals when they should have gone for it. And I didn't think they took nearly enough deep shots. And, they just never really had a chance because of that.
And that's the thing. I've always, and you can ask Brett, Bryant, I've always had my doubts about Desmond Ridder. I knew he was going to have to go win that game, and I didn't think he was fully capable of it. Now, I thought they could stay close because of their defense and what they had going on there. They did get run all over. That was something I didn't really see coming. But Desmond Ridder, outside of sort of scripted plays, because every team goes out there and puts out a script for their first drive, what they want to run, what looks they want to show. After that sort of first drive where they had all scripted plays, Desmond Ridder just was never he never even showed the ability to really place a football and get outside of that script.
Yeah, it looked like he was very much unaccustomed to playing elite defenses. And I think if he had just been a little bit more comfortable, it would have made a huge difference. But that is the downside to not playing anyone really of significance for most of the season is just you get exposed in a moment like that. And I think from an ability standpoint, like if they had been tested more recently against a high quality team, and I mean, don't get me wrong, like Houston was really good. Like Cincinnati had to play well to beat Houston, but like obviously Notre Dame and Alabama are the two top opponents that Cincinnati played this season, and the fact that they played so far apart, and the fact that there was such a long layoff, for Cincinnati going into the playoff. I don't know. He just didn't look comfortable. He didn't look like that was a stage that he was ready for. And I mean, I don't necessarily blame him or pick him apart for that, but it was disappointing. I felt like, because I think Cincinnati had more than it showed in that game, and the fact that was what they produced after this entire season talking about Cincinnati. Are they going to get their shot? Do they deserve a shot? And then, that was kind of the best they can muster. I was disappointed. I would hope they are too, because I mean, that surely in that locker room, there's a sense of Alabama's probably better than us, but we didn't play well. I would think that's kind of the way they've got to be feeling right now.
Mm-hmm. You said Cincy has more than they showed. What about Michigan? I thought going into that game, we talked about it last week. Top 5 rush defense, very good rush offense with Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins. They got nothing going the entire game, and they just got, whooped all over the field by Georgia.
Yeah, I kind of thought Georgia was going to be the best team in this playoff. And, I think you have to say they were the most impressive team in the semifinals. Alabama took care of business, but Georgia, to me, was good enough to where I would say, all right, like Georgia's back. Like, who they were in the SEC championship game when their season was not on the line, like Alabama's was in that game. I think who they showed to be in the semifinals is who they were all season, and not, they aren't who they were in that SEC title game. And so I wasn't stunned, honestly, to see them dominate. I didn't think Michigan would be quite that flat, but I'm not surprised. Who was Georgia all season? All season until the SEC championship game. That's what Georgia did to everyone. And, there were some good teams that Georgia played. I know it wasn't their toughest schedule ever, but they just dominated everybody. And they just went right back to that. And so I don't even hold it against Michigan, really. It was not the effort that they wanted, but, they looked like a program that hadn't been in that spot before, which, like Cincinnati, is exactly what they
just
were.
Melted them. They just squeezed them to death. David, I asked Gabe this earlier. When does Michigan get back to a college football, a 4-team playoff? If it expands, probably be easier for them. But if it stays at 4, and I think it stays at 4 at least through the season of 24. When do they get back?
I don't think it's next year with C.J. Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba for
that Ohio State roster. Woo.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was an amazing performance by those two in the Rose Bowl. I think with the changes Ohio State's going to make on defense, they'll be back. So I don't know that I see it in the immediate future, but I do think Michigan will be well positioned in the 12-team future. So
what about a group of 5 team? Cincinnati going to be the footnote in history?
I think there's a good chance of that. I don't know that Cincinnati's going to be undefeated again next year. There's a really good chance of that, honestly, in terms of making a 4-team playoff, because that wasn't one season's worth of work that Cincinnati put in to reach that playoff. That was multiple seasons worth of resume building.
Right.
That was their 2020 resume and their 2021 resume stacked on top of each other.
2-year body of work.
Got them in. Right. So I don't know that. Unless they run the table again next year, which just seems unlikely given what they're going to lose and what they had to expend. They're not, I don't think, probably as good. Gabe, you tell me what you think.
Right.
You played against, UCF, but I don't know that they were as good as those really great UCF teams. I just think they were more physical, maybe against
Gabe,
the
I'd love
AAC.
to hear this.
You know what? I thought the conference at the top in 2017, my last year, I thought it was better than it
I agree.
was this year. The AAC as a whole. I thought UCF.
Memphis that year.
UCF, the way they ran offense with Scott Frost and the defense, how it was playing, it was, they had talent all over the field. And Cincinnati, while yes, they were sort of the rough and tumble, big in the trenches, like to run the ball, play good defense, offensively, they never did anything to impress me. They just never did. And Desmond Ridder, I know he's that first round. Everybody's talking about him for the NFL draft. I don't see it.
And Notre Dame game went a long way and deserving.
Right. But even that game, it was
Yeah.
never about offense. It was
That's
never
right.
about offense.
How about this? Just looked it up and realized Cincinnati opens next year at Arkansas.
In Fayetteville.
Yeah,
That could be a lot of fun.
We
Yeah.
talked Arkansas's non-conference.
They can
next
never
year.
catch a break.
Here's the Razorbacks' 4 non-conference games next year: Cincinnati and Fayetteville, BYU out there, Liberty in Fayetteville, and Bobby Petrino and Missouri State in Fayetteville.
I love that. That's phenomenal. That'll be a lot of fun.
And with the 4 SEC games at home at Fayetteville, Hunter Yurchek can ask any price he wants coming off this high for season tickets. And they're going to raise so much money and sell so many tickets.
Yeah, one of the best stories in the country. There's no doubt about it.
Real quick, since I know you're a college football lover, David. I all of this talk about the bowl system being broken. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I am a little bit annoyed how anybody who has any qualm whatsoever with anything related to bowl season or these bowl games, anybody who raises a concern, it's immediately, they hate college football. I love college football more than that guy. That guy hates college football because he doesn't think that he doesn't think
that's
players
the Herb
opt
Street
out of
comment Saturday morning. Yeah.
the Frisco Classic. So, man, that guy must be a jerk. Like, I mean, that bit gets a little bit old. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I had any interest in the Frisco Classic. If anything, that was that was background noise for me. Okay,
right.
I would put it at like probably about half of these bowl games bored me to death. Maybe 25% of the other half were really solid quality background noise. And then there's been about a quarter of them that have been really, really good, really entertaining. So
That's really fair. That is, David. And I was watching live Saturday morning, heard every minute of the dialogue with Kirk Herbstreit. One person that's getting a big pass in all this blowback, Desmond Howard agreed, and it was amen corner to every syllable he said. So did David Pollock. The only one that pushed back a little and tried to reel them in, I think, of the PR nightmare that they have. Reese Davis tried to do that. Now, I saw it live. I heard every comment. I heard the tone. It was not bombastic in nature. He wasn't going in, but he didn't back up either to Reese Davis trying to reel him in, and Kirk Herbstreit is really getting blasted.
Well, it's just a different generation, a different way of thinking because – in coming up, when they were coming up, it was, bowl game was part of your season. They really meant something to everyone who got to go and play in one. Now they mean something to some teams that get to go play.
Well, except for in 1990 when Ohio State did not want to come to the Liberty Bowl and play Air Force, and Kirk Herbstreit was on that team. And they were open about it. What are we doing in Memphis? The whole week they were all about it.
Let me just, from a group of five standpoint, from somebody who's gone through a bowl game that not a lot of people necessarily care about, Boca Raton versus Western Kentucky or Birmingham versus Auburn. I know a lot of people actually cared about that one and certainly cared about the Miami Beach Bowl. But those two in the middle there, like for a player, it's still the highlight of your season to be able to go on a trip, to be able to go through a gift suite, to be able to get all of these things. So when I hear people talk about less bowl games, that just doesn't hit right with me. And I know there's drawbacks. There's guys that don't care about the bowl game. There's opt-outs. There's everything else. But for me personally, more bowl games is always going to be the answer. I want a 6-6 and a 7-5 team to be able to participate in that and go get what they've earned throughout the year by getting to 6 wins.
Yeah, and if all it is to some people is background noise or something
right.
you don't even turn on, then like fine, like that nobody's going to make you watch it. So I get that.
Bingo. Nobody's making you watch it.
Yeah. So the thing
nobody's making you play. Antonio Brown opted out yesterday, David.
I know. But it's unfortunate that it does feel a little bit diluted, like versus when I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, bowl games were a really big deal to everybody. They were. It was a pretty significant accomplishment to reach one. I mean, now it's probably not that significant of an accomplishment to reach one. But that at the end of the day, everybody who's involved is generally coming out ahead because you get that extra practice time. You get the players get the bowl gifts. They get more experience. They don't have to play if they don't want to. TV makes money off of it. It gives sports writers more content. I don't really see a ton of losers. You know what I mean? So that, I guess, is kind of what it comes down to. Who's getting hurt by the fact that we're playing more bowl games? Unless you're, Matt Corral. I mean, obviously, that is what it is. But like I said, you have the option to opt out. A lot of guys do. I don't really see the losers in the situation, unless you're turning on the TV and expecting, some spectacular product from the Frisco Classic. Yeah, you're going to be disappointed. But,
I like the Frisco Classic, David. I love it.
What's wrong with the Frisco Classic?
The Poulan Frisco Classic. Let's give them that.
Oh, man.
That's good stuff,
David. Yeah. Appreciate it,
Happy
man.
New Year, my man.
Yeah, same to you guys.
Thank you. David Cobb with us every Monday. So good to hear him. We're going to have a lot more college basketball with him as the season wears on. Happy New Year from everyone at the commissary. Both commissaries, the new Collierville commissary at Houston, Levy, and Poplar, are the original in Germantown. Happy New Year, and thank you from Walker Taylor and all of his associates. They appreciate all the support through these trying last 2 years. We know what they've been like. Boy, everybody optimistic about the new year, and why wouldn't you be? That great Memphis-style barbecue. Start that barbecue feast with those great appetizers at either place, like the cheese plate, the tamales, the nachos, invented in the early 80s at the Germantown Commissary. And if you're craving an easier way to order, text commissary, 2 M's, 2 S's, to 33733. Dig into the ribs or the shoulder, all the sides, the beans, the slaw, the deviled eggs. Don't forget about the party packs, 6-pack, 8-pack, 12-pack. The salad's so good, and the dessert, save room for the lemon icebox pie and the terrific banana pudding. 901-754-5540. Online at commissarybbq.com. In Collierville and Germantown, party area is a little cool for that tonight on the patio at the Collierville Commissary at Houston, Levy, and Poplar. But coming soon, it'll be time to take it outside at either location. Happy New Year, and thank you from everyone, Walker Taylor and his staff at the Germantown and Collierville Commissary.
Brett, the one thing, and ended that conversation on bowl games, and I know we have to get to DeMichael Cole here on the Grizzlies in a second, but that just hits home with me. You look at the Danny Cannell comments last week about participation bowls. There's too many bowls. What's your suggestion, less? Your suggestion is less football?
And
that doesn't make sense to me.
I like Barrett Sally, and I heard him this morning with Greg and Eli. He joins them every Monday talking college football. He wants 80 bowl games.
That's right.
and if you don't want to play, nobody's making you. If you don't want to go, nobody's making you. If you don't want to watch, nobody's making you.
Less bowl games is not going to solve opt-outs. It's not going to solve any of that.
And I was glad to hear the great crowd at the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. I know a lot of that was Mississippi State influence, but Texas Tech in their first appearance here got the big win.
Yeah, but the attack against bowl games is ridiculous.
I love them all. I've been to what people
I don't
will
necessarily
perceive.
watch them all.
I don't watch them all.
I do tune in for most of them, regardless of how big or little they are. But less football, less bowl games is not the answer. And I just don't get how that has been sort of the narrative driven by some of those
every
people.
time I go to a different bowl game other than our hometown bowl game. I just wish people knew how extraordinary and how highly ranked and well-treated you are by the AutoZone Liberty Bowl.
Yep, there's no question about it. We're going to switch gears when we come back. Got to talk some Grizzlies. Grizzlies versus the Nets tonight in Brooklyn. We'll bring on DeMichael Cole from the CA to talk about that on Sports 56, 98.5.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Acura of Memphis invites you to experience the season of performance and the all-new, completely redesigned 2022 Acura MDX. It's the most advanced SUV Acura has ever built. Experience the convenience of full connectivity, including built-in Alexa, Wi-Fi hotspot, and wireless charging from the stunning interior, complete with third-row seating. Stop by our state-of-the-art facility and take advantage of our aggressive APR offers today. Ridgeway at 385 or shop online from the convenience of your home now. Visit AcuraofMemphis.com.
It's a brand new year.
And yet still here you are.
And now I'm not saying that you should make New Year's resolutions.
But if you did, they should all have something to do with Central Barbecue, right?
You think I'm so predictable?
That's because you are.
I could have been about to say anything.
As long as anything by mean telling people to go to Central Barbecue.
Well, yeah.
See, predictable. Still, we do love us some Central Barbecue.
Exactly. So people should resolve to spend plenty of time at one of the 4 locations of Central Barbecue this year.
You know what? You're right.
And you said I was predictable.
I knew you were going to say that.
Hey, you're not Pete.
Hi, I'm Flo from Progressive. Being a baseball fanatic like me can be stressful. It's not all sports points and touchdowns. So Progressive is going to help you take your mind off your team for a moment. Instead of thinking about how they missed that goal point score, think about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, letting you choose coverage options based on your budget, unlike your team that missed the end zone net area. Well, anyway, hope this distraction about Progressive's Name Your Price tool was helpful. It sure kept me from thinking about all those penalty balls. Yay, sports!
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
I'm Brian Elder, 867-0303. Hurricane season is upon us. Is your roof ready? Are your shingles laying down and sealed properly? Call me right now, 867-0303. They say you get what you pay for. That's why my opinion is free. Maybe you've got years of life left in your roof. If so, I'll tell you that. But if I find storm damage or a compromised roof system, I'll lay out some options for you. Don't let them tell you it needs to be replaced if it only needs a repair. Call me, 867-0303. Has your insurance company already seen it and rejected your claim? Maybe they're correct. Most of the time, they're not. They do tend to become more reasonable once I get involved, though. 867-0303. I'll measure your roof from outer space or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Remember the last time your family visited the forest? It's a place of wonder and imagination for the whole family, where stories come to life. And it's closer than you think. Ready to plan your next visit? Make the forest part of your story today at a local park near you, or find one at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Conference Nets in Brooklyn tonight, and we bring on our good friend from the CA, DeMichael Cole, to talk about that and more of the NBA. DeMichael, how's it going?
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing today?
Happy New Year, DeMichael.
Happy New Year.
And what
Happy
a
New
torrid stretch for the Grizzlies. I'm going to start right there. What's the ceiling for this team?
Man, it's I don't know if there is one right now. You know, they're playing really well, and one thing that I've just been emphasizing is they're doing this with constant change in the lineup and rotation, and that's a lot of teams are struggling with that right now. And it's like the Grizzlies are just shoving dudes in and out, and you're not seeing much of a difference. And that's a big credit to Taylor Jenkins, to Ja Morant, and I mean to the rest of those guys.
Mm-hmm. And then you talk about a ceiling for the team as a whole. Ja Morant, I cannot stress enough what he's been doing, especially over these last 3 games. 12 for 15 from 3. He's the player of the week for that stretch. Talk about the ceiling for the team. What's the ceiling for Ja Morant this year as far as accolades are concerned?
Well, I was actually looking Bet Online. I mean, you've seen, a lot of people have been talking about Desmond Bane for most improved, but Bet Online has Ja Morant as the favorite right now for the most improved award, which came as a little bit of a surprise to me because he's going to be an all-star. He's going to be probably going to make an All-NBA team. I think we have Steph Curry's going to be first team All-NBA. Then after that, it's up for grabs. He could be second team All-NBA, third team, which would set him up for a massive contract extension, this summer. So there's no ceiling for Ja Morant either, especially when he shoots the ball like this, he's unguardable. I mean, Greg Popovich said it when we talked with him before the game. I asked him about Ja Morant, and he said he gets to the paint as easy as anybody he's ever seen. And, I mean, we all know if Greg Popovich is saying that's different than just a casual, person saying that, because he compared him to Tony Parker, who was probably the fastest point guard in his prime. And I mentioned him going against Russell Westbrook in that and some of those prime OKC years. And he said Ja Morant gets to the rim as easy as anybody he's ever seen. So you combine that with this shooting stretch he's been on, he's unguardable.
He really is. Tonight against Brooklyn, tomorrow night in Cleveland, then Thursday night home against the Detroit Pistons, and then a week from tomorrow night, Golden State. To heck with that most improved stuff. What's he got to do to be MVP, DeMichael?
He's going to have to beat that guy again.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to beat him. He's going to have to outshine him. I mean, and the Grizzlies have done it. So, when like that last game, people really give the Grizzlies a chance when they play Golden State because it's a matchup where the Grizzlies have had some success. But he's going to have to shine on that stage, and not only shine against Curry, because it's looking like, they're saying Klay is scheduled to be back Sunday. It's looking like Klay could be back in that game. So if Klay Thompson is back in that game and you beat the Warriors with Klay Thompson, now your MVP status is really skyrocketing. So he's going to have to beat them. And if he does that, it's just about being consistent throughout the season, because with this MVP conversation, you look at Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant, for example. They've been two of the more consistent players, where you have some players like LeBron James, who just went on this hot stretch. Ja Morant's on a hot stretch right now. You have a lot of players that'll give you a couple weeks of, wow, they're a top-tier MVP candidate. Then they'll fade off for a week or two. Stephen Curry and I think Kevin Durant have been like the model right now, just every single night doing really good work.
Yeah, it's going to be an uphill battle if he wants to get in there. Jokic has been ridiculous, a year removed from the MVP. Joel Embiid has been freakish as well in the absence of Ben Simmons. It's going to be an uphill battle there. But here's, I guess, my question. Is all NBA off the table, or do you think it's fully on the table for Ja Morant barring injury?
Oh, 100%. I think all NBA is definitely on the table, especially with the way the voting has gone in recent years, where you're seeing a lot of 2-point guards get in instead of it just being point guard, shooting guard. So you look at, just the top point guards from this season so far. You think of guys like, Chris Paul's doing it his way. He's probably going to, if the Suns stay at this level, then you got Steph Curry. You could say those two are probably close to lock in some way, shape, or form. And then, James Harden will probably be in there somewhere. But Ja is squarely in that conversation. Right. I mean, everyone else, as far as when you compare him to what Luka is doing right now, when you compare him to maybe what Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, he's right on par with those guys, if not surpassing them. So I think the key is just to continue winning. If they stay in that, right now they have a 2.5, 3-game lead for the fourth seed, and if they stay there, I mean, there's going to be a lot of eyes on what he's doing. He's going to easily get in that All-NBA range, which I said, that'll be big for contract extension talk.
That changes what that max contract looks like.
Sure does.
By a whole lot.
Yeah.
By a whole lot, yep.
It changes that first number. Never mind the commas and zeros.
Yep.
That first number changes. DeMichael Cole with us from the Commercial Appeal, doing an outstanding job now as the permanent beat writer for the Commercial Appeal, covering all things Memphis Grizzlies. And we're really honored to have you share your time with us and with our listeners. DeMichael, staying with the awards theme, and you mentioned Keep on Winning. Taylor Jenkins, COY, Coach of the Year.
Yeah, he's a good candidate, right? I mean, and like I said earlier, the one thing that I like about what Taylor Jenkins is doing right now is you see a lot of teams with players shifting in and out, and then they start struggling. You saw the Grizzlies go without their best player, go 10-2, and then you see guys. I mean, Kyle Anderson goes out. You just put John Conchar in the lineup to replace Dylan Brooks, and then he goes out right after that. So you put Kyle Anderson in, now Kyle Anderson out. He's doing some really solid stuff. And I mentioned, Bet Online earlier as having Ja Morant as the favorite. I believe I was looking at Bet Online, and they have Taylor Jenkins 5th right now. So J.B. Bickerstaff is the favorite. Of course, what he's doing in Cleveland has been some really good work. Grizzlies will see them tomorrow. Then you have Steve Kerr, Monty Williams with the Suns. There's Billy Donovan, and then Taylor Jenkins is squarely in that conversation though. So it's going to be about the consistency. And once this team gets healthy, I think there's another level to this Grizzlies team, because even when they get healthy, Dylan Brooks and John Morant just haven't meshed as well this year, and that's eventually going to happen, right? I mean, they've played together too long, and once that happens, you're talking about another level.
Yeah, and you're waiting for lulls to happen for them to play against good competition and lose, but that hasn't happened yet. They have beaten the Suns and beaten the Warriors. They're the only team in the NBA to do that, even without Ja for some of that stretch. Now, back to sort of Taylor Jenkins and the team as a whole. What has happened defensively that has sort of turned on and clicked on? Before John Morant went out with his knee injury, they were the worst team as far as defensive rating was concerned in the league. Since then, they have turned it up. They're 108.9 in their defensive rating. They're in the middle of the pack. They have made a ridiculous improvement. What do you think that is due to?
I think it's just watching this team. It's the disruption. Like they really mug up games for opposing offenses. I mean, just watching them up close, over the past couple weeks, you see these teams like the Spurs who come in, leading the NBA in assists. And I mean, they're forcing tough positions against these teams. You see guys diving all over the floor like John Conchar, like Dylan Brooks, DeAnthony Melton, just getting his hands all over basketballs, John Morant. They have a lot of active guys who, with their hands, can really mess up stuff for offenses, and it makes things really difficult. I think Steve Kerr was the coach that talked about it last week. With the way their offense likes to play, a defense like the Grizzlies that has that aggressiveness, but they also get their hands on a lot of balls. That really takes an offense out of its flow, and that's what you've been seeing a lot. You've been seeing a lot of teams have to just scrap their offense and go one-on-one and just go to a pick and roll against the Grizzlies because they're, the offense that they come up in the half court planning to run just isn't working because you have a lot of guys that are blowing through screens. Steven Adams is a really, really good communicator. That's one thing I've noticed since I've been here on the back end. He really communicates everything really well. He's talking to the wings and saying, Kyle Anderson this way, that way. He's a really good communicator. And that's what I've noticed more than anything. They're talking and they're just mugging it up for offenses. They're disrupting any type of flow that these teams want to get in.
Yeah, you're going to hear a bunch of this tomorrow night when you hit Cleveland for the Grizzlies and Cavs. But DeMichael, last week in New Orleans, I went to the Pelicans and Cavs on Tuesday night, and late in the game, 2 minutes to play, when Ricky Rubio went down, it was sad to see. And it was right in front of me. I knew immediately it was on the major end, and it is, and that's really going to hurt a great guy in J.B. Bickerstaff that finally got his deal.
Yeah, it sucks to see that. You just look at it from just a fan of the game's perspective. Ricky Rubio, for one, he's a guy that's gotten inconsistent opportunities in the past couple of years, and I thought with the Suns, they had something nice. They made that bubble run with him. They went 8-0. And you were thinking, they're going to be a solid team next year, and they ship him off for Chris Paul. And then he goes to Minnesota kind of like in a backup role. He finally gets back in the starting spot. And, he's a big reason why Cleveland has been so resurgent, and that happened. So that sucks. And then, you mentioned with JB, he's a leading candidate right now for Coach of the Year. He was in Memphis. We saw, how great of a guy he was while he was here in Memphis. And, I talked with him actually when I was in Philly because his nephew played for Drexel, and then his nephew goes to college, Boston College now, TJ Bickerstaff, and we talked then just about his journey and he's a really humble guy.
Sure is. Good man.
Yeah.
He is DeMichael Cole at DeMichael C on Twitter. He is the Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. DeMichael, appreciate it as always. We'll do it soon.
Great start.
Most definitely. Thank you, guys. Thank you. We're just getting started, so I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, DeMichael. DeMichael Cole, again, at DeMichael C on Twitter. When we come back from the break, we're going to visit some of these bowl games that happened over the weekend. UT loses a heartbreaker. We know Ole Miss lost. We've talked about that one. But there were plenty more.
Did Tennessee throw
where
anything
that
on the field?
I'm not sure. We'd have to ask somebody who was there. Anybody who was there. Was there anything thrown? From that game, though, and we'll discuss it on the other side, Hendon Hooker's a good player. I don't know how it didn't work out at Virginia Tech.
You're getting right to a local prediction next year.
We will talk about that when we come back. Also, some college football transfer portal news right here on Sports 56 98.5.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at triumphautosales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
Hi, everyone. Greg Gaston for FanDuel. Referring a friend on FanDuel Sportsbook could be your ticket to Super Bowl 56. When you refer a friend on FanDuel Sportsbook, you'll be entered for a chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to Super Bowl 56 for two. Share your exclusive referral link from the Sportsbook app. Once your friend places any bet of $10 or more, you'll both get $50, and you will be entered into the Super Bowl sweepstakes. If you're new to FanDuel, sign up with promo code GASMAN to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. You must be 21 or over and present in Tennessee. Referred players must wager $10 or more within 28 days after signing up. Bonus issued as site credit and is non-withdrawable and expires after 7 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. No purchase necessary for the Super Bowl ticket promotion. Super Bowl promotion closes on January 9th. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, Carrie, we need that tax report by tomorrow. Hey, Bobby, get me that expenses.
For Hari's accounting firm, client growth is exponential.
I know we're a couple of accountants short.
He needs whip-smart accountants at whiplash speed.
Hey, so why aren't these receivables matching up?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Right now is a great time to take advantage of Choate's winter specials by upgrading your furnace, switching to a Rinnai tankless water heater, or getting $50 off air duct cleaning. By now, you most likely have heard of the benefits of UV light technology for your HVAC system. Purchase any new Carrier furnace right now, and we will install one for you at no additional cost. For those who have not installed a tankless water heater yet, what are you waiting on? Stop wasting utilities heating water you do not use and getting frustrated taking cold showers or baths. Right now, when you purchase a Rinnai tankless water heater, Choates will install one premium toilet for free in your home. And Choates is offering $50 off its air duct cleaning services. Not only does this service get the years of dust out of your ducts, it also helps the indoor air quality you and your family breathe every day. All these specials qualify for 18 months no interest financing with approved credit. So call 347-8086 to schedule your free estimate today. Turn to the experts with Choates and let our family serve your family.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We've all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, that's not possible. There are aerial pictures that can be taken every 4 years that can be used to measure most buildings, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one looking at pictures that could be 4 years old. If you'd rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, give us a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best service we know how to give. Fiveash Roof Services, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Back rolling on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Gabe and Stats. Brian Dacus, of course, producing. Autos on listener line 901-360-8255. Also watch us live and message us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. Before we get into the bowl games as a whole, this is the breaking news of the day out of the transfer portal. Caleb Williams Obviously 5-2 as a starter at Oklahoma. They tried to put him in the Heisman race, even though he didn't play as much, obviously in relief of Spencer Rattler. He is in the transfer portal, although with his announcement, he put it on Twitter, he said he is not opposed to possibly going back to Oklahoma. And I sort of wonder who's in the running for Caleb Williams. You would think USC, but Lincoln Riley is going to have whatever pick as far as quarterbacks are concerned, and with recruiting in the transfer portal, what have you. So there'd be a lot of competition there. You sort of wonder who else around the country could be taking a look.
Would he do
at
the
Caleb
unthinkable
Williams.
And go to Texas?
With Quinn Ewers there? I think that's
pretty
doubtful.
crowded quarterback room.
That's
there.
doubtful, and that would not help with the Oklahoma fan base blowback.
No.
I think if he's going to, he either stays at Oklahoma or he leaves for some other conference completely with not that many ties to Oklahoma.
Georgia.
Well, I'm gonna pose this to you live on air. What do you think? Would Caleb Williams make sense for Lane Kiffin?
I'll drive to Norman and drive him to Oxford.
That would be another.
I'd get a Roman chariot.
Another one that makes sense.
Wheel it down I-40, hang a right down I-55.
So you'd do it. You'd pull it the whole way
in a second.
How many miles is that, Brian? We're gonna have to look that up. You think you'd make it there and back with a chariot?
And
come close.
If he came to anybody in the SEC, OU and Texas aren't merging in next year. I think they will the following year, 23. At the very latest, it's going to be 25. Mm-hmm. If they merge in 23 and he's at some other SEC place, that means he would play OU.
Mm-hmm. Also, local interest here, Memphis football. Ohio State secondary coach Matt Barnes has been hired as the new Memphis DC. And here's the interesting thing. He was the defensive coordinator this year for Ohio State.
Calling shots.
Kerry Coombs had got kicked out of his role as play caller after the Oregon game that they ended up losing. He coached in the Rose Bowl. He was the one making all of the play calls. It seems like a good get. And he's young. And sort of will do. And I want to say this, and I don't mean it. I'm not trying to cast aspersions on Mike McIntyre at all. But he's stubborn in his older age. He's seen what he does work.
We said it at the same time this afternoon off the air. Younger is good.
Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. And we'll see what he's going to want to employ, what he's going to want to run. They had a 4-down front there at Ohio State. They were multiple, though, for the most part. So that could be.
What's harder to block?
That could be a really good hire.
What did you least like to see, a 3 or 4 man front?
It depended what you ran behind it. 3 or 4 man front, in my opinion, is irrelevant. I think it's where your linebackers are lined up. So, like, for example, Iowa State ran that 3-3 stack. That's tough to block in any situation. A 4-down, if you're showing a 4-3 box generally, that's tough to.
Did
that's
you
tough
see
to
what
go
Barry
attack.
Odom was running against Penn State at times Saturday?
What was he running?
Everything.
Right. He's 3-down front guy. He's always been a 3-down front guy.
But he had them really confused, and again, almost like Mike Leach. I want to credit James Franklin. He could have taken the COVID powder. Just too many opt-outs, too many.
Right. I've always said though, multiple is what I like defensively. You give the
More
offense
to game plan for.
Give the offense different looks. Yes, you're going to have your base. You're going to master at your base, but try to switch it up a little bit because that's confusing. I guess to answer your question, 3 or 4 down front, if I'm going to get it the whole game, it's not that hard. But if you go from 3 to 4 to 5, go to a bare front, it's going to be tougher.
Other than the 2 semifinal winners, obviously Georgia and Alabama, what's the team that's impressed you the most in the bowl season?
That's a good question. Wow. I guess I'd say just from a pure,
Ohio State for me.
I was going to say Ohio State from just the roster makeup and what they
Utah
did in coming
Super
back.
Bowl. That was everything for them, and get that quick
They had to
start.
go out to the West Coast with 4 opt-outs, 2 to their main wide receivers, the other wide receiver.
The roster composition,
Made up for the
recruiting
production,
done at Columbus, at Ohio State.
I would say Ohio State. I agree with that. I do agree with that. Now, their bowl game was a fun one. I had Utah. I ended up getting the cover in that one. I had them straight up, though.
Well, we did. Their back door wide open.
Utah led 35-21 at half. C.J. Stroud, 576 some odd yards, 6 TDs.
I was just praying for it to finish because they kept kicking our kickoff back because of it.
But no Garrett Wilson, no Chris Olave, no issue at all. Jackson Smith and Jigba might be the best of the three. 15 catches, 346 yards,
Williams
3
left
TDs.
there.
Could you imagine if he was still there? I mean,
I don't think he'd be playing much.
He'd still have some catches. You'd have to imagine. He is so fast. But their roster makeup is ridiculous. They looking back at it, I don't know how much business they had.
Look at the quarterbacks they've spread out to the country, including Joe Burrow.
I don't know.
Jack Miller's going to help.
I don't know if they had
Florida.
looking back at it. I don't know if they had any business losing to Michigan. I don't really get that. Now they got whooped up front.
Weather got them
whooped up front, and that happened this year.
Do factor was big for Michigan.
They kind of got whooped up front by Utah for most of that game. They started to turn it on toward the back half, made Utah settle for field goals.
They just had more players. They had better players.
Yep. Tennessee and Purdue in the Music City Bowl. That was a fun one, even though it was not a very well played game. There was mistakes all over. But Purdue pulled that one 48-45 in OT. And there was some question as to whether Jalen Wright got into the end zone by reaching it out there at the end. That play should have been whistled dead.
It should have been. His forward progress had been stopped.
Yeah, it should have been whistled dead about 3 seconds before they actually whistled it dead. Now, by the law of the land, though, the whistle had not blown when he reached out his arm. So I was curious how they were going to call that. They ended up not giving it to him. And this brings me to Hendon Hooker. 26 for 41, 378, 5 TDs in that game. And they had a good run game going, 26 attempts and 180 yards for Jabari Small. Hendon Hooker, and I am in debt I really love Justin Fuente, Coach Fuente, and the staff. I have no idea, Brett, how it didn't work out with Hendon Hooker at Virginia Tech.
All right, I know you do, and I'm going to give a pass to Coach Fuente. Why wasn't he starting opening day for Josh Heupel?
That's true.
Opening night, that Thursday night.
Yeah, it was Joe Milton instead.
Mm-hmm.
He must be
Joe Milton doesn't get hurt.
What, Brett?
He sits and watches all this year.
Hendon Hooker must be very confusing to evaluate if that's the case.
It could be the case. Guys that until the lights come on game day, they're kind of okay practice guys.
Mm-hmm. Oklahoma State wins the Fiesta Bowl over Notre Dame 37-35, comeback fashion. That game didn't do much for me. And the other game that didn't do much for me was the Pitt Michigan State game.
I was watching Tigers, Wichita State.
Of course.
Oklahoma State, Notre Dame game.
Michigan State wins 31-21, but the opt-outs were just apparent, weren't they? No Kenny Pickett.
It was wild. The game
Walker.
Was wild.
No Kenneth
and
Walker.
And then Pitt got down to their third-string quarterback. Mm-hmm. Their starter got hurt.
And then Kentucky, Iowa. Kentucky wins 20-17.
Mark Stoops, built a statue.
Yes, Mark Stoops over his school, his alma mater. And Iowa needs to find something to get. They need to get something done at quarterback, Brett.
What if Mark Stoops is waiting on that job?
We've talked about that. I think that's very possible. Now, it depends what Kirk Ferentz does with the higher ups at that university. If he convinces them that Brian Ferentz, his son, can take over and be the head coach, all bets are off. But
I think
Mark
we're
Stoops
on Ryan Day
sense.
watch to leave Ohio State, and Luke Fickell would take it in 2 seconds.
Oh gosh, yeah, 100%. You think he'd leave for the NFL? Is that what you're saying?
And the Bears.
Yep. Bears would make sense. It's just that's a tough job for some reason. Just hasn't worked out. I mean, 3 years ago,
good chemistry with Justin Fields, though.
Yeah, 3 years ago, we're talking about Matt Nagy as the coach of the year. Now he's the worst coach in football.
Dave just thought he was mad at the kicker a few years ago.
I hear you. That'll do it for hour number 2. When we come back for hour number 3, we're going to start it off with our top 5 local and national sports predictions for the upcoming year of 2022. Get your predictions in. I want to know from a local standpoint, from a national standpoint. Autos on listener line, 901-360-8255. You can also message us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and at sports56whbq.com. Also, in hour number 3, Monday Night Football preview, we're going to have Cleveland at Pittsburgh tonight. It'll be on these airways, 560 AM, 98.5 FM. And then at 5:45, as always, as is customary, we will get you out with Taco Bell Crunch Time on this Monday of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Gabe and Stats.
The Christmas sale is happening now at Family Leisure. Did you know that's where Santa goes to shop? Oh, yes. Why? Because arcades are up to 25% off. Air hockey and foosball tables, they start at just $149.99. You can get great deals on hot tubs and saunas. Let me tell you, that is perfect for the winter weather. Trampolines, up to 20% off. This is the best time to buy. Pool tables and shuffleboard tables in stock and ready for delivery. They're not waiting on a boat somewhere. Speaking of delivery, those schedules are filling up very, very fast. So reserve your date now, just in time for Christmas. It's the Family Leisure Christmas Sale. It's happening now. Remember, shop early, shop local, and shop where Santa shops. It's Family Leisure, Witten Road and I-40. It's where family and fun come together for the holidays.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does with your favorite mixer. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand bottled, taste tested, sent to a few friends, then taste tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff. Just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com.
Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
They've raised the bar again at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. I like to say this is the new standard, the way car business should be done. And to prove it, out of 355 dealers in America that sell Genesis cars, the one in Olive Branch, Genesis of Olive Branch, was top 50 in the country, top 10 in the region, and number 2 in the district. And guess what? They want to be number 1. That means there are opportunities out there for you. It's the safest, and every new latest bit of technology that makes the experience of driving a car better, they've got it at Genesis of Olive Branch. If we start with the G70, the highest performing car I've ever owned, all the way to the G80 or the G90, the biggest of the sedans, you'll love everything about the car. If you would like to try the new SUV, the GV80, you call Vinny Gerard at 662-890-6684. He will bring it out to you.
Have you ever wondered why eyeglasses cost so much? The eyewear industry has been dominated by a single company that's kept prices artificially high.
Yikes.
Warby Parker was created to change that. They design and produce their own eyewear and then sell it directly to you for a fraction of the price. Warby Parker's high-quality glasses start at just $95, including your prescription. Try 5 pairs of frames for free. Go to warbyparker.com to pick your 5 frames to try on at home for free. That's warbyparker.com.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
We want those predictions at the AutoZone text line. Please hit us up at 901-360-8255 or call us right now. Phone line's open. Call us right now with your top 5 local and national predictions. Not necessarily order, just your 5 local predictions and national predictions. Hey, I'm sure you've heard of FanDuel Sportsbook by now. They have made every moment more fun this year, and they will continue to. First off, FanDuel Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. That means you can place all your bets on a trustworthy app that's also easy to use. Basketball fans, celebrate the NBA's 75th anniversary season at FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can place their first bet risk-free. If you don't win, you'll get up to $1,000 back. Easy to use, fast withdrawals, odds boosts and specials. This weekend, with the end of the NFL and then into the playoffs, you have to have this app. There's no better place to bet on the NBA than at FanDuel. Already have a FanDuel Sportsbook app. FanDuel is hooking up all customers with $50 when you refer a friend, plus your friend will get $50 as well. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Use promo code CASH to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000 and make every moment more this NBA season. That's promo code CASH. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. This hour of our show brought to you every day by DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road. Happy New Year from everyone at DeSoto Auto Sales. They're online at DeSotoAutoSales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and the surrounding area. All the cars test-driven, checked out thoroughly, bumper to bumper, head to toe, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. No shortcuts taken at DeSoto Auto Sales, where you are treated like a member of the family. Kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere. They care about your time and want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience. Find that car you want. Test drive the car. Get credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're out of there in 45 minutes or less, because they know we live in a world today that time really matters. So they keep it simple at DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales.
Phone and text lines are open. AutoZone listener line 901-360-8255. Get in the zone, AutoZone. We want your predictions locally and nationally in sports for 2022 as we venture into a new year. And I'm sure we'll have.
Where does it end up for the Tigers? Where does it end up for the Grizzlies?
Right. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about with just what we have. We'll start with national, and let's go ahead. Brian, you want to start? You want to lead us off with your national predictions?
Yeah, why not? So number one, we just talked about the news about Caleb Williams. Mm-hmm. He's going to win Heisman in 2022, and whatever team he ends up at, they will be a favorite in the college football playoff.
Oh, write this one down, because we know Bryant Dacus will be really pushing hard for Caleb Williams to win the Heisman at Ole Miss.
Yep.
That'll be tough, but hey, it's on the paper.
Okay.
Number two, Antonio Brown will appear in a boxing match this year.
Ooh, that's pretty good odds on that.
He's been training with Money Mayweather.
Yeah.
Number three, Gonzaga will win March Madness.
Okay.
Finally for them.
Green Bay will win the Super Bowl. And Colorado, they'll win the Stanley Cup.
You picked two teams with 3 and 4 that just have seemingly never gotten over the hump.
This is their year,
hey,
2022.
So. How about it?
That's why it's a prediction.
Love a hockey pick. Way to go, Brian.
Number 4, the USFL. It's going to be fun. If I can bet on it, I'll bet on a lot of games. It's not going to last long. It's only going to last a year, and everyone's going to be talking about the low ratings.
Do we watch?
I'll be watching, but they're not going to have good ratings. And then number 5, Jake Paul. Who would have thought he would have been in a sports prediction at the beginning of last year? He's going to appear in at least one MMA event this year.
Oh, my gosh.
Do we watch?
I will probably.
Can't pay for it. Can't pay for it. And you're going to be – Brett's going to go to the illegal streaming sites to watch it and be the first person to ever get arrested for it.
That'd be my luck. Do we give Brian enough credit for his Bulls prediction preseason? So let's remember that when we hear his 2022 predictions.
We've given him plenty of credit for it, right?
It's a great pick.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead second. 1, Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay.
Ooh.
He's not leaving. I know, and honestly, I don't know how you guys feel about it. We haven't really talked about this. All of this talk that he's had in the past few weeks really makes me believe he will stay in Green Bay.
You know he's a guest tonight with the Manning boys.
Manning curse.
Why would he do that?
I don't know.
That's bad business.
Who are the guests tonight? Snoop, the commissioner, Aaron Rodgers, and
One more. Let's see.
From the Steelers, Bill Cowher.
They really have good guests. 2, we're going to get an announcement on college football playoff expansion at some point this year. I don't think it'll go into work until after 2024 or so.
Yeah, they're going to ride this contract.
But I think we'll get the announcement on that.
What would 1 versus 8 look like this year? Well, we know what it would look like. It was a 21-point margin when Alabama beat Ole Miss. Now, that in the playoffs, it would be a neutral field. It wouldn't be at Bryant-Denny. But we saw 1 versus 8.
Well, I from what I understand, aren't home games for the expanded playoff gaining steam?
I think it is.
Right. That's going to be fun.
That'd be awesome.
If that ends up being the case, that'll be really fun. Number 3 for me, MLB is going to be further relegated amid their labor tension. And I think the NHL ESPN contract, I don't know, it could work out for them and put the MLB in even a further down spot. We'll see. 4, University of Miami becomes very competitive again. The U is back.
The U.
They'll be in the mix for an ACC title in year 1 with Mario. Then number 5, I hate to go this way, but I'm going Jake Paul. The shtick continues to grow strength. He might be in it. He's talking with Jorge Masvidal from the UFC. He's had some back and forths with Le'Veon Bell, all these different guys. I think it gains strength, and I doubt he loses any type of fight that he gets into.
Should we give Mike Tomlin a public service award like from the special UN commission for being the head coach of both Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown?
He might deserve one.
And keeping them quiet for as long as he did.
Maintaining some sense of sanity around that. I'm going to shock y'all. I do not have a Jake Paul prediction in my 5. Does that shock y'all? I know.
Really hoping for the group lock.
Good Lord.
Number 1, Tom Brady retires, does not play the 22 season. How's that out of the gate? You ready? Number 2,
You sure these aren't extreme overreactions?
Yeah, kind of. Number 2, diametrically opposed to you, big man, Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay.
We'll see who's right. I love this.
Number 3, baseball work stoppage kills the entire season. Not a pitch.
Whoa.
Not a hit, not a run, not an arrow, no Cracker Jack, no take me out to the ball game, nothing.
Sad.
We miss it all.
Oh, I'd be so sad.
You know what we do in
I
the
can see it
summer?
happening.
We talk a whole lot more World Cup than we were planning. Number 4, Tiger Woods tees it up at the Masters and at St. Andrews. Not a threat to win, but he plays at both.
Okay. I was thinking about adding a Tiger prediction in there.
Number 5, just like in the preseason for me, and I'm even closer now, Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles, the Tennessee Titans. Can we say our Titans? Put on your face mask if you do around here. The Tennessee Titans against the Los Angeles Rams, just like I predicted in the preseason.
That's a good one. Local.
Am I starting?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Number 1, a Grizzly will win Most Improved Player of the Year.
Okay.
Number 2, Amani Bates will be in a Memphis uniform in August. Number 3.
Ooh, that's bold. I hope he is in February.
That's also hopeful. Number 3, Memphis basketball will have another top 15, maybe top 10 recruiting class. And everyone will be rejuvenated again.
Yep.
Number 4, Memphis football will have a top 30 defense.
Okay.
That's right in line with my number 1 prediction.
Go.
And number 5, with what Brett was saying, this is a big if we have an MLB season, St. Louis will have 2, maybe 3 of the most talked about rookies, and at least one of them will start the season in Memphis.
Okay.
Gorman and
Liberatore.
Very good. I hope I'm so wrong on that.
I hope you are too.
That baseball prediction. I went all in.
Well, problem is I don't know if I don't disagree with your sentiment there.
I'm really scared.
I hope we don't miss a full season, but
pitchers and catchers are supposed to report in about a month.
February,
6
into
weeks.
February,
Yeah,
into February. I mean, it's just I haven't heard word one. There's been no conversation.
John Hard made a great point today. there's nothing like a deadline. We got to get closer to looking into the fiery gates of where for them to really get moving.
Yeah, but I have not heard anything.
Nothing
out of the MLB.
But Rob Manfred, he's on like a Greek island cruise. He hadn't thought a thing about the baseball season.
Locally for me, number 1, Grizzlies take home a top 6 seed. I just don't know who behind them is going to catch them at this point.
Yeah.
We'll see. 2, Ja will be an all-star and he'll make an all-NBA team, barring injury, of course. Barring injury. Number 3, Ole Miss will sign a transfer QB and they will pick up where they left off. Not necessarily 10 wins, but I think solid 7+ win season next year with a transfer QB in there.
If you peeked at the Ole Miss schedule for next year, a lot of 2022 schedule talk today. I didn't mean to do that. But
not too much in the non-con.
Gabe, I know you could lead them to 6-0, and I think I could.
What would you run? What would you run on? Wishbone.
You love it.
Would.
Get on. That would be, that would be tough to implement. Switching over.
It'd be really hard to recruit too, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I don't. You'd have a lot of talent. I mean,
I formation, huddle, big shoulder pads.
You'd have the best athletes for that system in the country, though.
Would I keep any of them though?
Lord. No, you wouldn't. 4. I go Tigers basketball reels off some wins in conference to restore hope of a tournament appearance. I don't know if that tournament appearance will happen, but I think down the stretch of the season they're going to reel off some wins. And 5, Tiger football 9th straight bowl appearance. They're going to have 8+ wins next year.
Number 1 prediction for me is Tiger football. Yes, Tiger football. Continuing that theme of the bowl streak continues. Seth Hennigan in our area next year between Hooker at Tennessee, KJ Jefferson at Arkansas, Seth Hennigan at Memphis, Will Rogers at Mississippi State, what Ole Miss brings in, we're going to be quarterback central in this area next year. That always makes it fun. Number 1, though, Seth Hennigan leads Tiger football to 9 regular season wins, including an opening night upset in Starkville over Will Rogers and Mississippi State.
If they get that win, I mean, non-conference, it seems 4-0 is the minimum expectation if they get that win.
Number 2, Taylor Jenkins, NBA Coach of the Year. Talked about it with DeMichael Cole. Had it ready on my list. Number 3.
Along with that Taylor Jenkins thing, if he wins Coach of the Year, they're top 6 seed.
Oh, I think they're 4 at worst.
Okay.
Number 3, local prediction. The basketball Tigers make the NCAA, have to go through Dayton. They win in Dayton on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. They win one more that weekend, not a Final Four, not even a Sweet 16. They lose in the round of 32 or so after winning in Dayton and winning a legitimate first-round game, but that's a lot better than we thought 2 weeks ago. Give me 2 more weeks, and I may improve on that. Number 4, Penny Hardaway enters next season on the most solid footing from doing it on the floor and in recruiting that he's entered into a single year for. Things will change. This atmosphere will change around here. He had to get tested by fire. I agree. I think some of the criticism was actually good for him.
I think if in him coming from coaching high school and AAU ball, there was always going to be a learning curve. This year, if you can't learn from what has transpired this year, I mean, you can't learn it all, and I think he has learned a lot through the process.
We know what that scab does. It makes a scar, and that gets you better. And he got roughed up by me, by others. I don't think anything's been overly unfair. I've got a texture that's after me for calling Penny Hardaway that when I said they hired a high school coach. They categorically did.
It's true.
That's never changing.
I mean,
now he can change and he can grow as a coach, and I think even compared to the 1st of December, he already has. Number 5 local prediction for me. We know the FedEx St. Jude Classic will return, FESJC. It returns with a 125-man field. Second weekend in August, won't be over 80 degrees that week. It'll be the nicest week of the summer. No hot weather in Memphis, best field ever, and another rung up the ladder for the golf tournament on the PGA Tour.
Speaking of weather, though, my gosh, I mean, we're already off to – I mean, it is weird 2022 in Memphis. First day, record highs for January 1st.
Then I drive in sleet from Grenada on yesterday.
And then I wake up with white powder on the ground the next day. So I don't know what to expect.
And when I got it, Old Bridge was not the case, but bridges into Arkansas yesterday, it was bad. Interstate all messed up. I mean, it was slow down and be careful.
Mm-hmm. Couple of texts here on their predictions. Somebody said, Patrick says, Tennessee will finish second behind Georgia in the SEC East.
I don't discount that. I like that.
I don't mind that at all. Mizzou,
got to go to Pitt early for Tennessee.
Do you remember when
year.
Mizzou was being picked as a top 3 team in the SEC East?
I had them as a dark horse this year.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that.
It remained very dimly lit. It was a very dark horse.
That Eli Drinkwitz hire of Steve Wilkes set him back pretty substantially. Their defense was really bad this year.
The Mizzou effort in their bowl game.
Who else could compete? With Tennessee in that? Kentucky's always going to be tough.
Shane Beamer.
Shane Beamer, yes. Especially with Spencer Rattler. That's a possibility.
Gators?
You believe in year one with Napier, with how sort of soured that?
Tennessee ahead of Florida right now?
Well,
they may be.
How soured that program is right now in Florida. That I can tell you from experience, it takes more than just a season to coach that out of players.
Yeah.
And to get your guys in there.
The purge.
So I don't mind this prediction by Patrick, no question. Somebody else says, my prediction next year will be the Tigers football team will be experienced and loaded and will play for the AAC championship. I don't discount that either.
I didn't go that far. I just said 9. But
I don't discount it. I really don't. I mean, they have the talent to do it. It's just about getting the right guys in the right places. I mean, this year we saw what the peak of them was. Beating SMU, beating Mississippi State, beating top 25 teams.
All right, we talked about acts being together. Tigers athletic department, they're acts together. Laird, Penny,
yes,
Coach Silverfield.
There are issues though. I mean,
women's basketball.
Year one
Rock.
Year one with Penny and the James Wiseman saga is still hanging over the head of the basketball program.
But we're getting decent IARP news. Nobody really had the book thrown at them yet there.
Well, there's only one, the NC State situation. And you sort of, I mean, and they didn't get a postseason ban, which is all the only, I mean, I think that's the only real worry from Memphis fans and media is will there be a postseason ban?
Can I go one more local prediction?
Go ahead.
The first time the NIL book gets thrown at someone will either be at Ole Miss or Memphis.
Ooh.
That's kind of our luck, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are no rules. We don't know what you can or cannot break. Now you're already seeing some stories out there that the NCAA is poking around on NIL stuff. You got to be kidding me.
Mm-hmm.
That would be Memphis and Ole Miss luck to be the first one
to get busted.
Blasted by NIL.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That would be so see-through.
I'm mostly joking, but I'm scared of that.
You know how see-through that would be. Because we know who's actually taking advantage of NIL. Alabama's of the world. Everybody I mean, Clemson and DJU took advantage.
That's who is easy to blast first.
Yes, I guess so. And that's the history of the NCAA when you look at it. Somebody else, late entry here. Titans versus Packers Super Bowl this year.
I take.
Yeah. Packers, again, I mean, they look like the best team in the NFC. Just clinched the number 1 seed, but NFC Championship? Can they get
goes
through
Lambeau.
It does.
Did you see that weather last night?
It does most years.
They showed that 82-year-old woman that hadn't missed a game since 66 or 67.
What I noticed
sitting out in that.
Tarico and I don't know why I'm losing my mind.
Collinsworth
were up there, and their breath was. I mean, when they showed live views of where they were sitting, their breath was showing. It looked real cold.
And the sideline reporter, Catherine Tappan, is that right?
I believe so.
Dressed like she was going the Iditarod.
It's cold. It was 9 degrees or 13.
It's not going to get warmer in Green Bay in the next month.
Somewhere between 9 and 12 degrees last night in Green Bay. And I heard Mike Golick on the call right here on these airwaves talking about how it's a calm 12 degrees out. There's no wind. The wind wasn't blowing, so the 12 degrees isn't that bad.
That's Big Mike Golick, right?
Yes. Not
I
Junior.
have loved him on Westwood this year.
Yes, he's good. He's always been good, though.
And a lot of fun. And I miss the heyday of Mike and Mike.
Yep. They've gone their separate. There's been a lot of change to some of those shows over to ESPN. There's been a lot of
They can't
change.
blame Yoko Ono for that one.
When we come back from the break, we'll talk about the game we'll be carrying tonight. We'll be carrying Cleveland and Pittsburgh, Monday Night Football, right here on 560 AM, 98.5 FM. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some NFL news as a whole. And unfortunately, we have to get to the Antonio Brown situation from yesterday as he leaves the field early. He's been cut by the Bucs because of his actions and
we've
antics.
waited because we have not wanted to pile on.
Yes, it's the low-hanging fruit of the day. That's the truth of it. We'll talk about, though, when we come back on Sports 56 98.5.
You have opinions?
The knowledge that I have matters.
We want to hear them. Call or text us on the AutoZone listener line at 360-8255. That's the AutoZone listener line at 901-360-8255.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
The global shortage on chicken is finally over, but there are still places that will tell you that it is hard to find, except for our good friends at Poultry Power. Poultry Power is currently delivering chicken in bulk to your home or business at prices lower than your local grocer or food distributor. Having a cookout or catering event? Tired of being told no by other food companies when you need chicken for your restaurant? Poultry Power can save the day. Visit www.poultrypower.org to place your order now. And remember, when others tell you no, Poultry Power has the power to tell you yes.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
I want to do some bragging rights. Hey, I was just the other day overhearing a conversation with Big Mike, the manager of DeSoto Auto Sales. They've got people buying cars all over the country. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Texas. People from all over the country buy cars at DeSoto Auto Sales in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Why? DeSoto Auto Sales has the most stringent car inspection in America. They get it right the first time. Quality and low mileage, factory warranty on most vehicles. My favorite part is the people who work there. Big Mike, all the employees are professional, friendly, and go that extra mile. Expect as you walk in the door, you're treated like family. DeSoto Auto Sales understands your time matters. We can help you find your dream car and get all the paperwork finished in less than an hour. Come see us at DeSoto Auto Sales and be part of our family. Have a great buying experience every time. 662-890-7184.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Need to sell your home? You're in luck because I buy houses. All you have to do is call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that PIN, 901-406-1101, or just save it in your phone. Bill at I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses buys houses in any area, in any condition, at any time. As simple as that. I Buy Houses is guaranteed to close in 5 days. So if you need your cash fast, just call Bill at I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. Has your house been on the market? Were you just tired of renters? Or is it just time to start over? Well, avoid repairing, cleaning, painting, and prepping your house. Just pick up the phone and call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses. If you're in Southwind, South Memphis, North Mississippi, North Memphis, Collierville, if you can hear this, just call my friend Bill at I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
I kicked off the new year in fine style today. I was at Park Place at Jason's Deli, and you can You can enjoy all the great locations on Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch, and Cordova, Park Place across from MUS. That's where I like to go. All of them so good, and all the Memphis area associates, over 200 Memphis area associates of this Jason's Deli grouping. They appreciate your support through the last 2 years and what that's been like. A lot of changes for them, but also a lot of the things that remain true at Jason's Deli. Check them out online as well at jasonsdeli.com. All the food at Jason's Deli, trans fat free, healthy, first franchise in the nation to be trans fat free. It's all about choice, regardless if you seek a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids meals. You will be delighted at Jason's Deli. Again, these locations at Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch, and Cordova. I had the chili today. All the soup's so good on a cold day like this. The salads, the meats, the breads, all the spreads, the taco salad, so good. But I had the chili today, all of it. Right now, if you're thinking about something for dinner, think about Jason's Deli. Catering anytime, anywhere, no order, too large, 5 or 5,000, as we like to say. Great salad bar, over 30 items to choose from. In any of the locations, wrap it up with a complimentary free ice cream. A lot of people are taking that choice today. Check them out online as well at jasonsdeli.com.
In the NFL, the playoff picture is about sorted itself out. We still have some work to do in both. We have 2 spots in the AFC that will be decided by 5 teams: the Colts, Chargers, Raiders, Ravens, and Steelers. In the NFC, only 1 spot to be had between the 49ers and the Saints for the last week of the year. As far as division titles are concerned, Packers have clinched the NFC North, Bucks NFC South, Cowboys NFC East, Chiefs AFC West, Bengals yesterday behind a ridiculous effort from Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, clinched the AFC North, and then the
30
AFC
of 39
South
for Joe Burrow.
Yes, I'll talk about this in a second because Jamar Chase broke a couple records yesterday, and then the AFC South, of course, has been clinched by the Titans. Playoff berths were clinched yesterday. The Bills, Patriots, Cardinals, and Eagles all have clinched a playoff berth. Now,
am I a bad guy for laughing about the people falling over the ram in Washington? Over the ramp.
No.
Over that rail.
I thought it was slightly funny, but there could have been some serious accidents there, including for Jalen Hurts could have gotten pretty
If he takes
seriously
out
hurt.
his knee, I'm not laughing. But
Right.
since everybody got up and took pictures, am I a bad guy for laughing?
No, I did the same.
They were leaning.
I'm a bad guy, but not just for that reason.
Right, they were relying on that pole a little too much. They were relying on that thing. They were
inertia won or lost.
They were leaning into that pretty good. But that Bengals game, you mentioned Joe Burrow, 30 for 39, 446, 4 TDs a week after throwing for 525 yards. My gosh, he's ridiculously good. And we said it at the beginning of the year. If he can't turn it around for the Bengals, I don't think anyone can. But they're going to be headed off to the
How many number 9 jerseys you think are at their games?
By next year, I mean,
close to 100%.
Everybody. But also, Jamar Chase, yesterday, 11 receptions, 266, 3 TDs. He sets the record for yards in a single game by a rookie. Also, breaks his college friend Justin Jefferson's record for most receiving yards in a season by a rookie. He passed Justin Jefferson, who had 1,429 is what he has and counting with their last game of the year.
That LSU team 2 years ago, I know a lot of stories are being done on 2001 Miami, and I think 2001 Miami is the best college team I ever saw, and with it being the 20th anniversary around bowl season.
Look at the skill players that LSU had.
But that LSU team. I mean, got Ed Orgeron a national championship.
O-line was good too.
Yeah.
Lloyd Cushenberry at center. They had a bunch of guys that year. That was one of the better collections of talent we've seen. I
started to tweet this when the Michigan game went final, but I didn't want to be that guy because I was already, I'm the guy that laughed at the rail collapsing, so I didn't want to do this. But just to remind everybody, just general reminder, Ed Orgeron with more national championships than Bo Schembechler and Jim Harbaugh combined.
That's something. 1
versus 0.
That's something. Also yesterday in the NFL, Cardinals beat the Cowboys. I know Brian's probably a little upset about this. 25-22, late game fumble by Chase Edmonds, wasn't challenged because the Cowboys didn't have a timeout. I've always sort of thought this, and this is why I picked the Washington football team to win the division, which we know is completely wrong. Mike McCarthy and his game management is bad. It's just bad. If there's anybody that's going to hold back that team, in my opinion, it's Mike McCarthy.
Micah Parsons, Defensive Player of the Year, not just Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year overall.
Did I tell you about what the comparison that Alex drew? That Alex, my brother, of course, we have every Wednesday. He made the comparison, and he compared it to the MLB MVP race. He says Micah, and I thought this was perfect. Micah Parsons is the Shohei Ohtani, whereas TJ Watt is the Vlad Guerrero Jr.
That's good. That is really good.
Because Micah Parsons does everything. I mean, he's lined up at DN, slot corner, inside the box, outside the box. He's ridiculous. He does everything. And if you put him at DN, he's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
Cowboys make seriously, Brian, any real noise in the playoffs?
I think they win a couple games. Maybe one.
A couple gets you to promised land.
That is true. I think they win one game.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what they have to do. They have to be more physical. Yesterday, they got killed at the line of scrimmage. 17 rushes for 45 yards, and you have that 1-2 punch.
Here come the text. Dak's got to be better.
Last 2 games, Dak has been.
Yeah, the Ole Miss guy said Dak's got to be better. I know. You know it too, though.
But
I'll say it too.
To be fair, though, hasn't Dak been better the past 2 games? It hasn't made a mistake with the ball. He threw for 330 against Washington, 226 against Arizona.
All right, go for 380 and 300 then. Be a little better.
I guess so. I thought he had been better the last 2 weeks, but there's other things. There's other places that they're lacking. And did you see Trayvon Diggs pass the 1,000-yard mark for yards given up this year?
Well, we said it early in the year. He keeps you
11 picks though.
He helps both teams.
11 picks. I mean, he was early. I think a lot of people thought Defensive Player of the Year for him, but game to game, it's inconsistent. Now to AB and to what we saw with the Bucs. AB threw a fit on the sideline versus the Jets. They were in New York. He takes his shoulder pads off, his undershirt, so he was shirtless, threw it into the crowd. He runs across the end zone in the middle of the game to the locker room. And in the report from Ian Rappaport, he said he had been nursing an ankle injury, was told to go in the game by Bruce Arians, and he wouldn't do that. Now, he had some incentives he could have hit for a certain amount of money. So
real close to him.
He decided he was not going to go back in the game, and that has led to a breakup completely. After the game, Bruce Arians says he's no longer a Buck. AB was seen on Instagram with a Uber driver having fun. He got picked up by an Uber driver. I mean, literally, he went out there and picked up an Uber outside the stadium in New York. I don't know what to say besides the fact that, one, star players with that type of talent get every pass in the world. And 2, I don't know if we as a society, as front offices in the NFL, I don't know if we really ask ourselves if football is good for certain people, if it's good for certain people to be involved in your workplace.
It's just win, baby. It's the downside of just win, baby.
Yeah, and it's just
win,
it's
baby.
Frustrating
it's just entertain me.
Is there a single person out there, Brett, that's surprised by what we saw yesterday?
I don't know how you
not
could
a single
be.
Not a single person. It was a ticking time bomb.
Now, one thing, how he slurred Ben Roethlisberger on the way out in Pittsburgh, that was bad for him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but everything he's done since then,
the helmet not fitting in Oakland,
has just consistently been.
Remember that?
It's just been a consistent downturn, and you look
and
at
we
Mike,
thought Tom Brady could settle that down.
You look at Mike Tomlin, and we talked about early in the show. I mean, it's impressive to see that he was able to keep it under control for a while. But football is clearly something that
now he's
not the best
a free
thing for
agent
AB
right now, isn't he?
Yes, and he could get picked up on waivers.
The Bucs cut loose from him.
But here's the other
Anybody
thing.
pick him up for the playoffs?
Oh gosh, he's so talented. I mean, he's ridiculous.
How much would he help Kyler Murray?
A whole lot, and he's a Hall of Famer already. I mean, based on resume. I mean, you can't.
Never mind yesterday's stripping.
I don't. It's just it's frustrating to see a guy like AB who, and I think when I bring up this next name, people are going to say it's completely different, but in a lot of ways it's similar. Like Josh Gordon we never stop to ask ourselves if it's good for Antonio Brown or Josh Gordon to be in the NFL.
And we collectively
don't throw them in there because they can catch balls and they can have a ridiculous amount of production.
Run, yeah.
They can win ball games. That's the only reason that they're there, especially with the past that they've had. So,
and I know already people going, all that money. Yeah, but it's still a human being.
Yes, it is a human being, and money does not fix certain things. And
often
Antonio Brown
worse.
at this point has sort of shown that, and I think people call for mental health very early, very quickly when it comes to Antonio Brown.
I'm not trained to do that.
Antonio Brown could just be a jerk off. I mean, that's very possible. Yeah. But money does not solve things that go on in your head and the way you act, and that's just, I mean, it's exhibit A of that.
Usually, gas on a fire.
Mm-hmm. But this does complicate, before we get to Monday Night Football, this complicates them offensively. Chris Godwin out. You figured, okay, AB can be in there and then replace that production. Fournette's banged up. Gronk has been banged up. So this complicates stuff for Tom Brady, no question. And then the next question becomes, is he done completely? I don't know. I have no idea. Somebody may take a flyer on him.
If he wants to play, unless he loses some time in his 40, he can still play.
Yeah, and as we've seen in the past with him, law trouble can get in the way too. Throwing, couches from 10th floor balconies.
It's been quite colorful.
And sexual assault charges and stuff like that. You never know what could come up with.
But
AB.
on the field, he has earned going to Canton.
He's so good. I mean, he's ridiculous. Now, to better things. Monday Night Football tonight. We'll carry it on 560 AM, 98.5 FM. Browns at Steelers. Browns have officially been eliminated from the playoffs. Steelers still kind of fighting.
I had the Browns in the AFC Championship game against Tennessee.
Steelers are fighting still. Don't have much of it. I mean, it's an outside chance for them. They're 2.5-point favorites tonight, and what is being regarded and being talked about as Big Ben.
What do you have?
I got 2.5. Okay, we can play off 3.5 though.
All right,
that's fine.
That makes it even better for me. I'm picking Cleveland.
This is being talked about as possibly Big Ben's last.
This is it.
Last go in Heinz Field.
This is it, and I think it ends ugly. And how the ending usually looks for 18-year veterans. How about in that draft? Eli Manning played 16 years. Phillip Rivers played 17. Big Ben 18.
Yep.
All of them, I think, would have had success at any other place. But the Mannings not wanting to go to San Diego was right. Because Ben would have won titles in New York. I think Eli would have won in Pittsburgh. Nobody, not even Phillip Rivers, could push that dysfunctional bunch in San Diego over the top.
He did a good job.
He did all he could do.
He did a really good job. 14 and 2 years. I mean, he
AFC Championship games.
Yeah, and people. What bothers me about the Phillip Rivers conversations you see nowadays, people try to put the last year with Indy on him and say that he really slowed down toward the end of his career. They were still a solid team there in Indy with him.
They made a run at him this week. The Saints made a run at him this week.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers is that's an all-time
I take
great.
Cleveland. Gabe?
I'm going to take the Steelers. -2.5. Still have something to play. Or 3.5. Still have something to play for.
Now,
Big Ben. And here's the one
who
thing.
is favored, Cleveland or Pittsburgh?
I thought it was Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's favorite.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and this line has moved
Give
a whole
me Cleveland
lot.
plus 2.5.
It opened at 1. So.
Okay.
But I'm gonna take them because, and also if you've sort of watched around the Steelers what they've done offensively, Matt Canada's been their OC, but when Big Ben is calling plays, getting them into hurry up mode, they play a lot better. I think they're going to hand it more off to Big Ben in his last couple games. So I think the offense looks better.
I'm also going to take Pittsburgh.
All right. Gabe 0-4 NFL week this weekend.
Oh, come on! You didn't have. You had to say that.
Bryant,
you had to let
Bryant
it be
1-3.
Woo!
Oh, Brett 3-1. How about that?
Had to let it be known that I was on. And also, I had some bad beats on mine.
You sure did.
Yeah, I mean, all of the teams that I picked to cover won, if I'm not mistaken.
That's tough.
Did y'all even attempt to do Brown's all-time top defenders? It was tough.
I did. I definitely did.
We're close on the break. It was tough.
Well, I'll go ahead and start, I guess, then. I'll lead off number 1. I went Myles Garrett.
I had him 2, but he really should be 1.
2, Frank Minifield. He was an all-pro, 4-time Pro Bowler.
I got him on my list.
3, Clay Matthews Jr., or the older one. And just because he played 19 years. I mean, he's
the football playing Matthews.
He got it done. And then number 4, I go Denzel Ward, 4 years, 2 times in the Pro Bowl. I'll give him that nod.
I went Matthews, Garrett, Hanford, Dixon, Frank Minifield. Brian?
I went Matthews, Garrett, Gain, Houston.
Okay.
And heck, you could argue the Steelers right now. I have 3 from the Steelers that I think are
current
could easily
is
be
what
on
we
the
did Steelers since we
on
did
the Browns
them
list
so many times. I went T.J. Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, Cam Hayward, Joe Hayden.
I went T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward 2, Minka Fitzpatrick 3, and then 4, their leading tackler, Joe Schobert. Joe Schobert's been a good pickup for them.
I went Minka, T.J., Joe Schobert, and then Cam Hayward.
I was digging with Joe Hayden. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, Joe Hayden has slowed down a little bit. But
Steelers need a lot in offseason.
Historically, I mean, Joe Hayden has been a really good NFL player. The Browns, though, my gosh. They don't have much.
Well, it's really been an offensive franchise though. When you think of Jim Brown, Leroy Kelly, Brian Sipe, Otto Graham, Paul Warfield, it's really been more of an offensive franchise.
How much of these last 2 games?
Lou Groza,
real quick,
kicker,
and
Bryant.
Sort of looking into where the Browns go from here. These last 2 games, how important are they for Baker Mayfield?
Do you cut loose from him?
They've already picked up his option.
Oh, they have? Okay.
For the 5th year.
Well, you don't do that then.
So they're not going to cut loose from him. But with that final year of his contract, you're probably going to go into the year with him as a starter. But I've heard about them being rumored for Deshaun Watson, for Derek Carr, for a bunch of guys that could possibly be on the market come this offseason.
It's going to be a lot of different. Last year I said there would be 14, ended up being 15 different starting quarterbacks from the year before on opening day. We go through that number this year too.
Mm-hmm. And I for teams that need a quarterback coming into this draft, it's not a fantastic. But we never really know until those guys actually get on the field, because last year was lauded as some massive quarterback draft. We haven't seen much.
Was it really?
We haven't seen much out of Trevor Lawrence. Haven't seen much out of Justin Fields. Haven't seen much out of Zach Wilson.
The guy in New York.
Trey Lance hasn't played. So we'll see when we get to it. But just
Old
looking
Matt
at it right
Jones
now,
holding them up.
Yeah, but he hasn't been all that great as of late, except for yesterday. They beat the Jags 50-10. But
Poor Jags. We thought Trevor Lawrence couldn't miss.
Mm-hmm. Jags are in a hiring or in a interviewing spree right now. They've had a bunch of guys in and out of that building.
Who do you hire?
I don't know. I have
See,
no
I
idea.
go defense and find me offensive whiz kid.
I would probably go offense just because you do have Trevor Lawrence.
Don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, you want to have a guy who's very good offensively, and they have an offensive-minded team with a guy like Trevor Lawrence, but we shall see. The one name that was always interesting to me that they brought up was Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell, I talked to Alex about this last Wednesday. He has been, what he did with the Lions is not praised enough, is it? I don't think it is.
Good NFL man.
Yeah, he's done it. He's been due for another shot, but I don't know if that shot's this year. We'll see. When we come back from the break, we're going to put a wrap on this edition of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Gabe Stats.
Peter Edmiston and Anthony Sane bring you Sports 56 Grind Time. Brought to you by Poultry Power. Weekdays from 1 to 3 on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry: Honda mowers, trimmers, and generators, Steel blowers, trimmers, and chainsaws, Echo trimmers, blowers, and chainsaws, plus quality products from Red Mat and Shindawa. And they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. As we all know, Memphis can be a hotbed for severe weather, and that weather can play havoc on our roofs. Most people don't know what they should do first when they're concerned about the condition of their roof. Call their insurance company, call a contractor, or trust a door-to-door salesman that's making claims that are hard to believe. My advice would be call the contractor that you know and trust. If you don't know any, research your local contractors and give 2 or 3 a call. I hope your research will lead you to us. Have your roof inspected, decide for yourself what you should should do and whether or not you should file a claim with your insurance company. It's your home, it's your policy, and it's your money. Don't let anyone pressure you into anything. If you give 5S Roofing a call, we promise personal service with a member of our family with no pressure and no hype. 5S Roof Services, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. 5S Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5S Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
The Christmas sale is happening now at Family Leisure. Did you know that's where Santa goes to shop? Oh, yes. Why? Because arcades are up to 25% off. Air hockey and foosball tables, they start at just $149.99. You can get great deals on hot tubs and saunas. Let me tell you, that is perfect for the winter weather. Trampolines, up to 20% off. This is the best time to buy. Pool tables and shuffleboard tables in stock and ready for delivery. They're not waiting on a boat somewhere. Speaking of delivery, those schedules are filling up very, very fast. So reserve your date now, just in time for Christmas. It's the Family Leisure Christmas Sale. It's happening now. Remember, shop early, shop local, and shop where Santa shops. It's Family Leisure, Witten Road and I-40. It's where family and fun come together for the holidays. Tire pressure light on? Tread low? Car sliding when you stop? It's time to go down to Milton on the Spot. Serving you at 3 locations: 1684 Getwell Road, 2127 Ellis Presley, and 3691 North Watkins. Memphis' largest supply of new and used tires, all under warranty. Yes, that's warranty on used tires too. Ask about the tire rotation and balance specials. Milton on the Spot on Getwell Road, Elvis Presley, or North Watkins. Here to take care of your every tire need. Milton on the Spot.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Gabe Kuhn.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! This is for all the biggest crunch time. You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, high school.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
The double steak grilled cheese burrito, so good. Double the steak with nacho cheese sauce, seasoned rice, red strips, sour cream, and the 3-cheese blend wrapped inside a warm flour tortilla, with even more 3-cheese blend grilled on the top. The double steak grilled cheese burrito, it hits the spot now at Taco Bell. And at Taco Bell, when they say they are feeding people's lives with unexpected good, they mean it. Bowl food you can't get anywhere else.
Brett, what I learned today is that in the NBA, we're going to have some substantial returns here in the next week. Kyrie is expected to return Wednesday at Pacers after getting out of COVID protocol. He'll just play away games. We know how that works in Brooklyn and New York. Also, Klay Thompson expected to make his return on Sunday versus the Cavs.
When does James Wiseman? Boy, that meniscus has been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it doesn't feel good. You know, it doesn't feel like the Warriors have much of a plan for him going forward, weirdly enough.
I learned today all of a sudden the bowl games matter to some and referenced a lot more with SEC at a poor, not struggling, at a poor 5-6. We do know they're going to win it all between Georgia and Alabama, but it has been a bad year, but they always matter to me, whether it's good or bad.
What I could have done without is, honestly, with just how many people have this conversation about bowls being participation. We have too many bowls. Danny Cannell said it last week. Some people agreed, a lot of people disagreed, I'll give them that. But all of this conversation about the bowl system and how it's broken, I look, there are problems with the bowl system. There will always be problems, especially going forward with opt-outs and the NFL money and everything else. But I don't understand why you throw it out there with no solution. There's no solution to it. It's either more football or less football.
Well said.
And Brett, I'm going to go with more football every single time.
I want more, and the market dictates that. People will either watch or not watch, and the ratings have been fantastic. I could have done without the whole Kirk Herbstreit dust up. He's paid to offer his opinion, whether you agree or disagree with it. I disagreed with it. I was watching it live. Desmond Howard said the same thing. He's getting no blowback because here's why. Kirk Herbstreit's the franchise. Desmond's just on there to giggle.
You know what? And here's the other thing I was thinking about, Brett. I think, and I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but I think personal interest has something to do with how those guys are talking. ESPN has contracts with all these bowl games. You're not going to – I don't know if you're going to find a lot of ESPN personalities going after the bowl.
Big financial stake for them.
Yeah, so – yeah, I saw that. I didn't try to get too involved in it. Everybody else, I'll leave that to them.
I was watching it live.
I'll leave
thought he was going to have trouble. And he
you
has.
know what? I'll leave everybody else on social media to the back and forths about that. What we're looking forward to tonight, Grizzlies with a huge test. They have to go to Brooklyn and play the Nets tonight. Also, we have a top 25 matchup in college basketball.
We
Purdue
sure
and
do.
Wisconsin.
First to 63 wins, don't they?
Well, Purdue has some good offense.
Yeah,
I don't
they
know.
do.
Purdue can play some offense, so it could be
23-win Heat versus 28-win Golden State tonight late.
Mm-hmm. That should be an interesting one. And also Monday Night Football, which will carry
Goodbye
on
to
560 a.m. and 98.5 FM. That's all we have for today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to David Cobb, to Michael Cole for their contributions. For Brett, for Brian, I'm Gabe. Enjoy your night. We'll holler at you tomorrow at 3.
I'm Sheldon Rosengarten, and I'm with you, Mallory, and we're both with Mark's Bensdorf Realtors. Well, a lot